I'd like to reconvene the regular meeting of the City Council Public Financing Authority. City Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Mosier is present.
Here.
Councilmember Bolton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Here.
Mayor Vandermark.
Here.
Councilmember Strickland.
Here.
Councilmember McKeon.
Here.
Councilmember Kalmick.
Here.
Okay, I'd also like to announce pursuant to City Charter Section 310A, City Clerk Robin Stanislaw has requested permission to be absent from the meeting. Also pursuant to City Charter Section 309D, City Attorney Michael E. Gates has requested permission to be absent from the meeting.
Thank you. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our Huntington Beach Fire Chief Haberly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's invocation will be given by Huntington Beach Police Chaplain Bob Ewing.
Good evening. Would you all bow with me, please? Gracious and almighty God, we thank you for our wonderful city where we are blessed to work, to play, to serve. Your word encourages us to pray for the peace and prosperity of our community, and we lift up this city to you right now. We are grateful for the many people in this room who are instrumental in fostering that peace and prosperity. We especially pray for and express our gratitude for our city council. We ask that you grant them wisdom and discernment in all their decisions and discussions. Father, we also give thanks for the dedicated men and women who make up our city staff, recognizing their vital role in making things happen each day. Father, we have just entered into a new season of the year, and so we ask your blessing upon all of the students in Huntington Beach who have begun a new school year. We pray for their safety and protection throughout the year. We also ask, Father, for your blessing on all of the educators, that they may be guided with wisdom, patience, and compassion as they nurture and teach. Lastly, Father, we are grateful for all of those who have gathered here tonight, men and women who love Huntington Beach. We pray that every conversation that takes place will be filled with respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to the well-being of our community. Lastly, Father, I pray for our public safety agencies and ask that you would continue to watch over, bless them, and keep them safe as they serve. May we be ever mindful of your presence here tonight. In your most holy name, Lord, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Close.
The screen, right?
Okay. Over here? No, this is the one.
That's fine. Oh.
This is one. This is one. Okay, closed session report by City Attorney. City Attorney, do you have anything to report from closed session?
We discussed the litigation matter, but nothing further to report.
Thank you. Announcement of supplemental communications. Do we have any supplemental communications?
Yes, we do, Mayor. I'll go ahead and read those. For starting with consent calendar, item number 10, file number 24597, email communication received regarding the proposed execution of a lease agreement with HBSC Partners, LLC, at the Huntington Beach Sport Complex. Item number 11, file number 24593, 6 email communications received regarding the proposed naming of the Huntington Central Park Nature Plateau. Item number 16, file number 24590, email communication received from Carlos Rubio, President of Teamsters Local 911, regarding the proposed adoption of a site letter memorandum of understanding with the Huntington Beach Management Employees Organization. And for ordinances for introduction, item number 20, file number 24622, email communication received from Carlos Rubio, President of Teamsters Local 911, regarding the introduction of ordinance number 4326, adding chapter 1.23 of the Huntington Beach Municipal Code relating to parents' right to know city. Also 50 email communications received regarding the introduction of ordinance number 4326, adding chapter 1.23 of the Huntington Beach Municipal Code relating to parents' right to know city. And for council member items, item number 21, 24-617, 9 email communications received regarding establishing a flagpole at Baca Park in honor of Vietnam veteran Medal of Honor recipient John P. Baca. Item number 22, 24-624, 4 email communications received regarding establishing tobacco retailer regulations. Item number 23, file number 24-628. 13 email communications received regarding the proposal to demand the resignation of Supervisor Andrew Doe. That is all, Mayor.
Thank you. Now moving on to awards and presentations. September is a National Service Club month, and we're fortunate here in our community to have so many organizations that give a lot to our community. This is obvious when you look at the work provided by our city's national service groups. Our networks of service groups provides a variety of service to our community. Some examples include funding scholarships for kids, offering financial support and necessities to families in need, providing services and aid to our city's veterans, supporting our city public safety personnel, assisting with our senior services and resources, and fundraising to support those who are at risk of becoming homeless. Huntington Beach would not be the great place it is today without tremendous work of our service groups. Myself personally, I'm a member of Kiwanis here in Huntington Beach, and I value the great work I have the privilege of being a part of through that group. Joining me are representatives from some of the various Huntington Beach groups. Included in those groups are the American Legion, the Elks Lodge, Kiwanis, Lions Club, Robin's Nest, and the Rotary Club. On behalf of the City Council, thank you all for everything you and your groups do. Your passion for Huntington Beach and acts of service are truly commendable, and our community is fortunate to have you all. For anyone who's looking to find ways to give back to our community, please look into these groups to see how it is, what it is you can do to help. They really do amazing work. Now, all of these groups are going to be recognized individually at our next Mayor Spotlight Award. But for now, I would like to call the representatives from the groups I mentioned to come on up here so we can take a photo.
Thank you, man. Yeah, exactly. Hey, you're Kiwanis, but you're also a member of the Elks.
I am too. I forgot. I'm so sorry.
I'm like, hey.
Okay. Okay, moving on to public comments. City Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, Mayor. At this moment, we have 49 speakers.
Thank you. At this time, we will do 2 minutes today.
2 minutes noted. Thank you.
Yes. I have some announcements to make. At this time, the City Council will receive comments from members of the public regarding any topic, including items on the open session agenda. Individuals wishing to provide a comment may do so in person by filling out a request to speak form delivered to the City Clerk. All speakers are encouraged but not required to identify themselves by name. Each speaker may have up to 3 minutes unless the number of the volume of speakers warrants reducing the time allowance. Please note that the Brown Act does not allow discussion or actions on topics that are not on the agenda. Members of the public who would like to speak directly with a council member on an item not on the agenda may consider scheduling an appointment by contacting the City Council's Administrative Assistant at 714-536-5553 or emailing the entire City Council at city.council@surfcity-hb.org. And I need to make a comment about proper decorum. Proper decorum at City Council meetings is imperative in order for the public to remain informed about issues pertaining to the city's business. The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the public to be heard and address those issues in a public forum. Disruptive behavior, impeding or delaying our ability to conduct the council's business will not be tolerated. California's Penal Code Section 403 prohibits disrupting this meeting, and enforcement action will be taken for violations of this law. City Clerk, could you call the first 3 speakers, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Okay. First 10, Barbara Shapiro, Wendy Rincon, Dawn McGee, Libby, Patty Papas, Bethany Webb, Andrew Einhorn, Amory Hansen, Ms. Lingen, and Janet Jacobs. Please step up to the podiums.
First speaker, go ahead.
Hi, Wendy Rincon, 50-year resident. For the council members, parents, and grandparents that are supporting item 24-622 on the parent notification, I would suggest learning how to communicate and support your own kids. Snitching on kids won't help them. Are we going to have a city staff approaching parents that may already know their child's sexuality or status? If so, that is a breach of a private family matter. If someone had approached me about my daughter and her status, I can assure you it would not have gone well for anyone. It's a private family matter. The party of less government is now the party of snitching on kids. That's not protecting kids. You have no idea what a kid does or does not talk to their parents about, or their guardian, about their feelings or their sexuality, about their bodies. You cannot legislate through a city ordinance a family's dynamic. Once again, kids will get hurt by this ordinance. You are not protecting kids. Frankly, it is deeply concerning and, well, creepy that city staff would be looking for signs of gayness or queerness. You are looking to have city staff sexualizing children. What they should be doing is their job, teaching the kids that they have signed up for: swimming, dancing, crafts. Not thinking about a child's sexuality. Or they also should not be penalized for not doing your bidding. It's creepy. But I don't think that you truly care about protecting kids. You care about that people forget about the Pacific Air Show settlement, that giveaway of approximately $20 million over 40 years. If it makes money, it goes to the Pacific Air Show. If it costs money, it's the community of Huntington Beach, responsibility. Gates had to be sued to force you to show the public what you were gifted to your political.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Don McGee. Recently, local political activist Victor Valadares filed a lawsuit against Navy SEAL combat veteran, hometown hero, and 2024 City Council candidate Chad Williams. He used the argument that because Chad is a former Navy SEAL, that the title Navy SEAL Speaker, which he is, should not be allowed as a descriptive designator on the ballot form. The courts have sadly sided with Victor on this, and it's a decision based purely on semantics. Why would Victor file such a lawsuit? I'm not saying that anyone commissioned him to file the lawsuit, but I'll ask a question. Qui bono? Who benefits? Dan, who benefits? So the Newsom threesome, of course, benefit from this. Bolton, who was voted in by a minority of 4 and who'd never cut the mustard as a candidate in HB because of the DEI grift she's chosen as a profession. Moser, who's never met a radical leftist ideology that she hasn't fallen in love with, and Dan, who wouldn't even be on that seat if it wasn't for the fact that the Police Officers Association placed a photo
his photo on a flyer along with Tito Ortiz. None of them have the tenacity, the fortitude, the leadership skills, or the guts to take on the enemies of freedom the way that Chad did in Fallujah, and they know that the moniker of Navy SEAL almost guarantees him a seat on the council. This obviously terrifies them. Let's not forget that this type of lawfare, regardless of who wins or loses, is a tactic of the left. Their attempt is to waste the time and money of the defendant, proving that the outcome is not the only goal, that the process is the punishment. Now let's compare Victor Valadares to Chad Williams, shall we? Well, Chad's a Navy SEAL combat veteran, Silver Star recipient, youth pastor, local businessman, and loving husband and father. And Victor, well, just research the allegations of abuse his ex-wife has leveled against him. He has a criminal record including multiple DUI convictions and a robbery charge, and has repeatedly...
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead. Go ahead.
Andy Einhorn for the people of Huntington Beach. Let's contrast the three challengers running for city council with the incumbents. The challengers focus on unrelated Huntington Beach issues, often more concerning about other states or countries. Chad Williams is known for his rants, attacking council members, engaging in grievance-driven war cultures. He caters to a select few of Huntington Beach residents while ignoring the concerns of most. On August 13th, Butch Twining called our libraries lousy on Facebook. And he has blatantly violated California law and common sense by vaping in this very room. Don Kennedy, a perennial losing candidate, lacks the vision to improve Huntington Beach. These challengers would only deepen the divisions and waste taxpayer money and lead to more pathetic decisions like the air show settlement fiasco. We need council members who will govern for all residents, not to cater to air show operator Code 4. That's why I endorse Kalmick, Mosier, and Bolton. They are committed to investing in our roads, schools, police, fire services, environmental projects, ensuring a better future with respect to all. They stand for public service, not self-service. And they will protect the common good of all residents. Finally, did the majority consult with Andrew Doe, Orange County Supervisor, about the air show settlement? It certainly resembles another financial impropriety. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
I want to thank the council majority for their library shenanigans because it's woken the sleeping giant, and that is the city. I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of residents about the library propositions, and they're really angry. So you've made it quite clear who to vote for city council. If you respect books, love the library, support our librarians, vote Kalmick, Bolton, and Mosier. I've made it very easy for you with this sign. Keep books magical. If you can remember that, you can remember Kalmick, Bolton, and Mosier. With that, I have a video I'd like to show.
Made up of community members chosen by the City Council. They will have decision-making authority as to which books are purchased and put into circulation.
What this ordinance has done and what the mayor has done is create a censorship committee of other people, not professionals, who will decide for you, for me, for other parents, what our children can read, instead of allowing us to make those decisions for ourselves.
It is insulting to the people of Huntington Beach The proposed changes suggest that we as individuals, as parents, as a community, are not smart enough or strong enough to walk into a library and make decisions for ourselves.
But I do not think it is up to the city council to tell me who can censor my reading. Who the city attorney is more qualified than I am to choose my books for myself or my grandchildren? This is a tragedy if you follow through with this.
Thank you.
We are not Nazi Germany.
Next speaker.
Bethany Webb, 40-year plus resident of Huntington Beach, mother of an LGBTQ child. I want to start with Griselda's newest hate item to bring in to disrupt Huntington Beach. This was never a Huntington Beach, okay? Yeah, in the 90s we had Nazis, skinheads, and we ran them out because Huntington Beach's majority does not want your culture wars. So I'd like to go to what the kids, not that you've ever done anything, including with your own kids, that was in their best interest, but the idea, so when my child was ready to come out, my child knew that I was a safe place. It is a fact that there are many children who do not have those parents as a safe place. And those kids, what you want to do, first of all, with your big government city council, because you ran on low government and no charters, and I'm going to swing back around to those no charters, but so what you've decided is to be a big government city council that reaches into everybody's room and puts our kids at risk. I would like to remind everybody here that on the 4th of July, a young person came down here and stabbed multiple of our residents, but 2 of them died. That person was saying racial quotes while he was doing that. Who do you think brought him here? Now, we know Gracie's been on tape saying anti-Semitic and racist tropes, but it turns out that her new hate bigotry is on LGBTQ people, which is funny, because she's a Moms for Liberty girl. They should be called Moms for Bigotry. And their founder said, well, he's now reformed gay, but him and his wife, another founder of Moms for Bigotry, freedom if you want, liberty, they raped a woman.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
Andrew Doe must resign. When the nonprofit run by his 22-year-old daughter refused to provide documentation that they had actually provided food to seniors in need during COVID, it started to look criminal. Now the FBI has raided their homes. Supervisor Doe has not appeared on the dais. He is not serving his constituents, and it's time for him to step down. Francis Marquez, who has championed transparency and uncovering corruption, will be on your November ballot for this seat, and I encourage everyone to vote for a new face at the Board of Supervisors. Now, council members, please vote no on item 20. This ridiculous law says that anyone that works with children on city property, whether they are minors themselves or not, must inform parents whenever they see behavior that is indicative of the child's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. So if a camp counselor sees a teenage boy holding hands with a girl, the counselor must notify the parents that their child's sexual orientation seems to be heterosexual. What about a librarian seeing 2 little girls hugging? They'll have to find a way to reach the parents to inform them their daughter might be gay. From 3rd through 5th grade, my daughter only wore boys' clothes. Under this ordinance, would I be getting regular calls to let me know that my child's gender expression doesn't align with her perceived gender? Our parents' phone number is going to be distributed to every counselor, volunteer, or employee in the city in case one of them observes a reportable action under this ordinance. And what is the penalty for violating this ordinance? Fines? Jail time? Good luck finding your next batch of employees. I hope you're beginning to see the absurdity of this ordinance, but it gets even crazier. In the last section, it specifically says the city attorney may initiate legal action against the state on behalf of a city resident. So a resident who wants to sue the state about AB 1955 doesn't even have to pay for their own lawyer. The taxpayers will foot the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
My name is Ms. Lingen, and I'm a 24-year resident, and I'm speaking about agenda item 24-622. My brother completed suicide 6 weeks after his 19th birthday. As a result, I got involved with suicide prevention as I wanted to prevent at least one death by suicide. One. So here I am. I don't want any child or a young person to die by suicide. In our city, LGBTQ kids need a comfortable place, a safe place to figure it out. And it should be in their own hometown of Huntington Beach. Your actions are causing HB children to become paranoid in their own hometown. Save lives and vote no on agenda item 24-622.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Honorable Mayor and City Council and staff, 45-year resident. Come November, my husband and I bought our home. It was not easy. I support Mayor Vandermark's ordinance to make HB a parent's right to know city. There's also some other things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the future of our city. We have a slate of 3 candidates for council that we are voting for. Don Kennedy, he's a stellar businessman. Butch Twining, he's an Air Force veteran, and he has recently sold his family business. Stellar businessman, knows how to bring money into our city. And we also have Chad Williams, author of this book that gives the history of his experiences as a Navy SEAL. SEAL meaning sea, air, land, and water, I believe. SEAL is defined as sea, air, land, and water. Recently, our hometown hero, Chad Williams, was served and sued by a person named Victor Valderez. I was reading about this person. He has a criminal record, number of DUI convictions, and a robbery charge. He also has numerous domestic restraining orders against him. He's been accused of sexual crimes. This guy lacks any valid credibility. And he sued our guy to want to take Navy SEAL, that particular title, off of the designation on the ballot. Chad is our country's Navy SEAL, our city's Navy SEAL. This is a story of a true patriot. He's a man of integrity, and we're voting for the HB3, Don, Chad, and Butch. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Janet Jacobs, and I'm a 40-year resident of Huntington Beach, and I'm so proud always to tell people, especially in the last couple of years, that my hometown is Huntington Beach. We're pretty well known in many cities and counties, and as the city that is standing up and saying no to Sacramento. We're a great example, and we owe it all to our city attorney. Unfortunately, Michael Gates is not here, and the Fab Four, who are keeping their campaign promises and then some. You're turning our city back to a safer home for our businesses and families. Thank you. Wrongly, we took our eyes off the helm and for way too long. What happens when you do that? You capsize, which we almost capsized our city, our county, and our country. But you know what? We're back. We're paying full attention. We're fighting to uphold our precious Constitution that our forefathers fought so well to put in place. The upcoming election is about more than just who holds the office. It's about preserving the integrity of our community, the future of Orange County, one of the last places in California that still stands strong. I support the HB3, our local guys, Butch Twining, Don Kennedy, who, by the way, they really didn't have to take this job on, as some of our council too, but because they love their city. And I also support our totally awesome local hero, former Navy SEAL, Chad Williams. Chad was recently wrongly sued for using the title that he earned serving on the Navy SEAL team for 5 years. My gosh, he was in combat with his life on the lines, leading his team, unlike the lowlife who filed this lawsuit, who had...
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Mr. Amory Hansen. I'm speaking tonight to express my thoughts on the report given by the City Attorney at the August 6th Council meeting. I am very pleased to see great progress is being made in continuing the fight against 13,000 units. I plan to be in Pasadena for the upcoming Ninth Circuit hearing and encourage all residents to attend as well. We, the people, will have an opportunity to decide the future of development in Huntington Beach with Measure U, which I proudly support and will comment on more at the next meeting. No more high-density malarkey. Let's continue to fight in the hills of Orange, in the valleys of Los Angeles, and in the bridges of San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you call the next 10 speakers up, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Okay, next 10. Dixie Terry, Ann Palmer, Charles Jackson, Linda Diaz, David Clapp, Stacy Grovesner, Pat Goodman, Joey Messiah, Mackishire, Luann Nicole Shoup, and Kanan Durham. Please approach the podiums.
First speaker, you can go ahead.
Is it 3 minutes or 2 minutes?
2.
Okay. All right. I have a 3-minute speech, so what I'll do is just say the general idea and email it to you in the next day or two so that you can look at it if you don't mind. My name is Dixie Terry. I am the sole owner of a single-family residence with a 0 lot line. I own both the house and the land on which it sits. My property, 6141 Eagle Crest Drive, Huntington Beach, is located in the master series of Seacliff Homeowners Association in the community known as Seacliff on the Greens. There are 104 homes in the master series. In February of this year, under the guise of a wood repair project, the board of directors sent contractor Primeco onto my property. Primeco defaced and destroyed the high-quality craftsmanship of the front of my home. On February 13th, Primeco attempted to paint over its shot-in incomplete workmanship. Primeco also compelled installed moisture barrier paper in violation of city code. In March and April of this year, I filed complaints with the city code enforcement, the city building department, and the city community development department. It was my understanding a cease and desist would be issued against Primeco as a result of improperly installed moisture barrier paper. Instead, the city of Huntington Beach issued a violation order against me personally and my property address with fines. I hired a contractor. He filed for a permit. I paid the fee, and it's been 6 months, and I'm just now getting approval to build. But I'm 82 years old, and for the past 6 months, I have been unceasingly harassed, threatened, bullied, maligned, and fined by the Master Series Board of Directors and Seabreeze Management Company personnel. I'm going to skip most of the rest of this and get to the bottom line. What I'm looking for is for the City Council's assistance in getting to the bottom of why all necessary permits were not required from the Master Series for a project as large and extensive as this one. I'm also looking to have the City Council designate someone to come out and be there when my contractor takes down the wood that Primeco put up to determine how extensive the damage to my home and the homes where I live is.
Thank you. Ms. Terry, could you please fill out a blue card so we can reach out to you after the meeting?
Yes, please.
They'll take your contact information. Thank you. Next speaker, you can go ahead.
My name is Stacy Grosvenor. I'm a 24-year resident homeowner here in Huntington Beach. I'm here to speak out against Ordinance 4326, which would establish Huntington Beach as a parent's right to know city. First off, the passage of AB 1955, which prompted this ordinance, does not prevent educators from informing parents of their child's gender expression or sexual identity. It only prohibits school boards from forcing teachers to out students against their will. Your proposed ordinance 4326 would allow our city attorney to take legal action against those who might be deemed to have withheld information to parents regarding their children. And not only legal action against instructors and counselors, but this broadly written ordinance goes so far as to even include those who work in libraries, parks, recreation, and community services. Really, aren't there better things that we can spend our time litigating? Is this really where our focus needs to be? Supposedly, we're also concerned that AB 1955 is driving large economic producers out of California, and Ordinance 4326 is supposed to help the same from happening in Huntington Beach. That sounds like a real stretch of the imagination for me. Elon Musk has many reasons other than AB 1955 for moving his company to Texas. And as far as Huntington Beach is concerned, there are plenty of people on both sides of this proposed ordinance, including business owners who might find your ordinance 4326 offensive enough to move their businesses out of the city. Politics goes both ways. I'll wrap up by saying I do understand a parent's desire to know what's going on with their children, but you do need to understand that not all parents receive sexual identity issues as welcoming news. In some cases, a teacher or school counselor is the only safe person a child has to open up to. By forcing those adults to out those kids prematurely, you run the risk of doing much more damage to the child than good. I ask that you vote no on this ordinance. This item sets the stage for the city to lose more potentially costly lawsuits. Our tax dollars can be spent much more usefully than this. And two, we don't need...
Mayor Vandermark.
Go ahead.
Pat Goodman, and I'm here to speak against Measure U, which I'll be voting no on. Huntington Beach offers an array of affordable housing. It's pretty easy to locate these properties on the city's community development website. It's something for us to be really proud of, but it's not enough and hasn't kept up with demand. This alone is enough for a city to deal with producing or planning for affordable housing. But now the majority council has thrown in Measure U to compound an already existing challenging issue. If approved by voters, this measure, a charter amendment, requires voter approval of any city-initiated zoning changes. Newport Beach saw the writing on the wall and rejected to go down this path, and cities like Yorba Linda wish they didn't. Two things I find ironic about Measure U in tonight's agenda. Item number 19 will make consistent zoning classifications in the general plan with the reality of how the property is being used. This city council is acting at its best within its authority and responsibility to keep the city running smooth. The other piece is the recent legal judgment against the city to produce a housing plan. If Measure U were in place for either of these actions, we the people would have an election to vote on these issues. How is this a good thing? What's the point of having an elected city council? Measure U is costly, bureaucratic, and a legal nightmare. City council members who moved Measure U are putting their personal political ambitions ahead of interests of the people and use catchphrases as no high density, care for the environment, let the people decide, to manipulate voters to bend to their political agenda and personal gain. HB voters, do yourself a favor and vote no on Measure U. It's bad for property owners and the future of Huntington Beach.
Next speaker, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Charlie Jackson, a 23-year resident of Huntington Beach. Mayor Gracie asked for suggestions on how to save Huntington Beach money. Here is a no-risk way to save over $300,000 a year. Rejoin the Orange County Power Authority, OCPA. OCPA is now an award-winning community choice aggregator. It was clear that OCPA was on the way to providing excellent service and a wide range of options when the Fab Four pulled the plug. OCPA is 3% cheaper than SCE for the basic plan. People can choose one, to save 3% over SCE generation. They can return to SCE, or they can choose other options, including 100% green option. Sure, it costs more, but you can make your choice. But now with SCE, we don't have a choice, no choice at all. SCE doesn't really have a green option, which only allows about 400 users in Huntington Beach. The waiting list takes many years, and SCE keeps trying to cancel it. What good is a green plan if you can't get it? From June of last year to June of this year, Casey McKeon attended OCPA meetings to collect over $200 a meeting while playing solitaire on a cell phone. I know, I watched him. I think he was just there to get the attendance fee. I want to thank Bolton, Kalmick, and Moser for voting to stay with OCPA. It's a shame we could have saved Huntington Beach a lot of money every year while giving Huntington Beach residents excellent choices on the energy we buy. And the final comment is, I really think we should bring back the videos, because when people are listening to this, when they can't be here, not having the video is going to be a bad thing. So think about bringing back videos. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Joey McAsee. I'm the Outreach and Events Coordinator for the California chapter of Gays Against Groomers. Today, the city of Huntington Beach has an extraordinary opportunity to provide a bulwark against the nefarious forces that undermine a most sacred relationship, that of parent and child. AB 1955 serves no purpose other than to divide the family and undermine parents' rights to raise their children as they see fit, using as its mask the guise of LGBTQIA activism. The reality of AB 1955 is that it does not protect anyone. Rather, AB 1955 upholds the malignant narcissism of a radical ideology that seeks to destroy. We at Gays Against Groomers stand with you to hold the line. LGBT people of sound moral character stand with you in support of the rights of parents to raise their children as they see fit. We urge you to advance this ordinance to protect the children and families of the city of Huntington Beach. Make no mistake, AB 1955 is repugnant to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Until such time, we stand with you to defend parents and their children from the forces that advance this reckless ideology. We urge you to take courage, vote yes on this ordinance, and move forward to defend parents' rights. When you are called homophobic, when you are called transphobic, remember the words of Margaret Thatcher: when they attack you personally, they do not have a single political argument left. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Linda Diaz, and I'm the one who usually comes up here to ask you all to pursue peace. Boy, it's been a little rough so far, but I wanted to thank you all, and especially you, Mayor, for making sure that LaBard Park has been renovated, and our tennis courts are back, and they're working in the center of it, and it's getting better and better, and we treasure it. I walk through there daily, and it brings great joy to me. I also want to thank you for keeping the library safe in the sense that you're keeping the books properly categorized so that pornography is not in the children's section and everything is appropriately categorized. And if you want sex, you can have it in the adult section, okay? We're not keeping it from you, we're just keeping it from the kids. Thank you so much. I also want to share my support for Chad Williams. He's the author of this book. He should be in the library, Seal of God, and I'm here to read it a little bit to you because I can. And I just want to say, like you, I'm a graduate from Chapman, so I'm something I'm proud of, and I'm proud to speak from this book from you. Just days before Chad Williams was scheduled to report for basic training at the Great Lakes Naval Base, he turned on the television and was greeted with the horrifying image of a mentor and training partner, U.S. Navy SEAL Scott Havelston, being brutally murdered in a premeditated ambush in the streets of Fallujah, Iraq. I mean, this is the man that we want to have on our city council. Please keep him in mind. Chad Williams is a former neighbor.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Luann Nichols Shoup. I'm a fourth-generation property owner of Huntington Beach. I'm here to speak in favor of item 12, the BID. Since they currently have a responsible president, I believe this is an opportunity for the City Council to support the bid. Right after Gracie, Tony, Casey, and Pat came into office in City Council, there was a great improvement to the downtown appearance. Lately, I cannot help but notice the shoddy appearance of our downtown. A week after the surf contest, I was downtown and the sidewalk was so disgusting, I left. It seems that we do a great job of cleaning up the city before events, but no one seems to want to clean up after the party. I am well aware of the budget problems, and instead of having the citizens pay for cleanup via City Works, how about adding the cost of cleaning the sidewalks after the event to the permits? Downtown Huntington Beach is the heart of these revenue-making events. If someone is going to throw a party in our town, they should be responsible for the cost of cleaning up after themselves. I would like to add liabilities such as the broken bollards in front of Starbucks that keep the cars from driving up on the sidewalk. They've been broken since Memorial Day, and there are other liabilities. We have other ideas, and I have told the president of the bid I will help assist in any way I can. We have worked together before. You all know how to reach me. And I would like to add that the OCPA charges an extra 18% because they have a middleman. So yeah, that's not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, Ann Palmer. It's September in Surf City, and so far it's been explosive. I went to the Civil War days, and everybody had a great time. Everybody who was there said they would be coming back next year. I did learn that same day the plight of Chad Williams and the lawsuit, and regardless of your political standing, that was completely unnecessary, and it hurt me that it happened in our community. Also on the bid, I agree, we need more cleaning. I know budget is a problem, but please, especially after events, could we get it a little cleaner downtown? Also on item number 19, those are changes to our zoning. I would ask that future projects not have any further exceptions, and also that we look for loopholes and make sure that there's no pending state legislation that could shoehorn in high-density development. As far as the parents' rights, the very best outcomes for child development occur when parents are the key caregivers, and they work with counselors and with teachers to address the needs of the child. That is child safety. Lives have been lost for children that have been turned into something that their parents were unaware of and caused major conflict. Also, I've seen a lot of promo for the Magnolia Tank Farm saying it strengthens HB. That site looks drastically like an HB City website, but it's not. It's a shop-off site. So I would like to say anybody who approved that project from the beginning, I hope you're around when there's toxicity concerns, flooding concerns, and environmental concerns. We can't do much about it now, but I would say no exception.
Next speaker, go ahead.
I think there's something to be said about a comment that my previous speaker said, in that there are lives that are lost when a child is turned into something that their parent is not aware of. I think at the end of the day, we know where this is coming from. right? The people who are in this chamber who are supporting forced outing policies are not allies to the LGBTQ community. In terms of suicides, right? So, according to the Rainbow Youth Project, which is an LGBTQ suicide prevention hotline, in 2023, from July 2023 to July 2024, there were 5,900 calls that came in across the state. Over 1,500 came from Chino Valley Unified School District alone after they passed their forced outing policy. In El Cajon, down in San Diego County, they normally get about 45 calls a month. After El Cajon passed their forced outing policy, they received 486 in 48 hours. Forced outing policies are not about protecting queer youth. And if anything, I'm curious, why are we having all of this talk about, okay, we're gonna make sure that we have an ordinance that says that city staff has to forcibly out kids, because that is what we're doing here. Okay, so let's have a conversation about how do we provide resources to city staff to learn how to have those conversations? Are we spending the money on making sure that city staff has the resources, has the mediation skills, knows how to have these delicate conversations? I don't know about you, but I'm sure there's a lot of parents in this there's a lot of city staff in this community who aren't prepared to have that conversation and did not sign up to have that conversation. At the end of the day, I got 6 seconds left. At the end of the day, we stand against government overreach, which is what this is. Thank you.
Please call up the next 10 speakers.
Okay, next 10 speakers. Samuel Carcillas, George G., Butch Twining, Urson Russell, Jasmine Stolting, Joyce Riley, TJ England, Dion or Deanne, and Ginny Goodwin. Please come up to the podium. Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Samuel. I'm the chapter leader for Gays Against Groomers California. I want to commend you, Madam Mayor, for putting up this proposal. I rewrote my notes here because it seems that there just needs to be some logic brought into this conversation to bring down the temperature a little bit. So bear with me here as like I said, I rewrote some stuff here. Growing up gay, I want to say that what we're talking about here, it is not homophobic for not wanting to associate with legislation that promotes faculty to teach children how to keep secrets from their parents. It is not homophobic for passing an ordinance to reject the unconstitutional provisions of AB 1955. It is not homophobic or transphobic for holding the principle that people, including parents, are innocent until proven guilty. AB 1955 assumes that all parents can't handle the information regarding their own children. Listen, the concept that AB 1955 protects children from neglect and other abuse is a farce. We already have those laws on the book. And these faculty should know this as mandated reporters. If you suspect something or you see something, you report it to the proper authority for a proper investigation. I encourage this council not to waver on your duties to uphold the law and our Constitution despite the heckling of some of the harlequins that you will hear tonight, for sure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Hi, council members. My name is Urson Russell. I'd like to speak about common sense versus ideological blindness. That seems to be one of the major issues that we have in America right now. Common sense is to go and read legislation that's from the state and to understand where government's rightful place is in our lives, in our businesses, as parents, as people of faith, and as community members. Thomas Sowell, one of the greatest intellectual philosophers of our time, a black man, said that it takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of our own ignorance. And that really sits with me in this conversation that we're having right now. Thomas Paine, who is one of our founders of our country, said, "Society in every state's a blessing," meaning in the challenges that we have as communities, in our good and the bad of society. But government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil, and in its worst state, an intolerable one. What this city continues to do is show that it's willing to stand against the state that's 400 miles away from here and trying to make decisions under a groupthink mentality that everyone's got to fit into a certain mold. That's the wrong direction that government should go, and that's the reason why a lot of us here hope that the four of you continue to fight for this city and set an example for this wonderful county that we have. My entire life, I've had gay aunts and uncles. I've had several very deep, understanding conversations with them. And I can tell you, through all the disagreements and the common things that we have together, the one theme that they all keep coming back to is, you know, I asked the government to stay out of my bedroom, but now it seems like we're asking them to be invited into our homes. The one thing they had in common with me was something that was very simple and that's common here tonight in a large group in this audience. Leave our kids alone.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, Pro Tem Pat Burns, Tony, looking good. Casey, Natalie Mosier, you have not been elected. Rhonda Bolton, you have not been elected, and you're running, appointed by the puppet there, you know, that speaks to, who is it, George Soros? You talk to him every week, you say, all right? Anyway, I want to take my hat off to a great Navy SEAL. Go ahead and laugh. Navy SEALs defend the country. What do you defend? I wouldn't have no oral copulator in my foxhole. That's for bloody sure. Anyhow, greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for his friends, which my T-shirt says, as I showed you. But also, I have to mention Michael Mansour, Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 3, Master at Arms, second class was his rank, killed September 29th, 2006. He jumped on a grenade to save his team, got the Medal of Honor posthumously, but I was at the ceremony for his plaque at the Orange County Board of Supervisors building in Santa Ana. I met his family, and Chad Williams is just in line with this guy. And we must remember September 11th, 2001. I mean, the kids are forgetting this. It's not taught in classes anymore, I don't think. I'm disturbed deeply that who's going to defend our country? These people? That's what I say, you know. I told you the military's gone woke. It's disturbing.
Thank you.
Along with
Next speaker.
First Lieutenant Thelma Reed England here. I served my country too, and I am sure there's a lot of veterans here who have served. When I left the Army Nurse Corps, I was no longer a first lieutenant. I am a private citizen. That's all I have to say about Mr. Williams. The Constitution gives the state the right to regulate and run our local city elections. But the Constitution isn't good enough for our MAGA members. We can't have 100 cities across this state making their own election laws. It's chaos. I don't understand why the four of you aren't doing our city business, rather than trying to tell the teachers how to run the schools, the librarians how to run our libraries, and the parents how to run their own children in the schools. Republicans were supposed to be against big government, I was taught. But all I see is you trying to interfere in private civic organizations. Please stop it.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
Joyce Riley, as a representative of the Christian community, I commend Michael Gates for his outstanding achievements in governing Huntington Beach. Proverbs says, "A fool and his money are easily parted." Michael Gates is no fool, but a good steward of this city's finances. Last year, he won a lawsuit which brought back $30 million from the state to Huntington Beach. Since 2014, he has saved the city $300 million. This protected Huntington Beach and the taxpayers. He has also championed law and order. Our Lord God loves us, but is just and must punish sin, crimes against other humans. His criminal prosecution program has reduced crime by 11% since 2017. Thank you, Michael Gates, for letting your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Huntington Beach stands as a beacon of light in a dark world. Thank you for giving us hope that darkness will be overcome by light.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Stolting. Good evening. I'm here tonight to share my admiration of the many accomplishments that Michael Gates, who isn't present, but still we appreciate him, our city attorney, has represented and performed for us. He's a small business owner, and I love the idea that he wants HB to continue as a family-oriented city. He attended local schools, is a small business owner, wants to continue our city to be the best place to raise a family. He has continued this family-oriented theme by being active in youth sports such as AYSO. I was a very big part of that when I was a kid. SCATS, an HB gymnastics organization that serves our community and has produced 14 Olympians and many world championship team members, and the Friday Night Lights activity, the #1 flag football in the US, and the Boys and Girls Club. We all love that. There are just many activities, and he is involved that benefit our city children and families. Michael was elected to serve as our HB City Council attorney 10 years ago, and his record is stellar. His performance and reputation as the city's top attorney speaks for itself. He is a successful litigations and trial attorney and has been defending numerous clients in a wide range of legal areas, such as representing clients of Orange County Sheriff's Department, many physicians, surgeons, and other medical professionals, and hospitals in the Orange County and Los Angeles areas. Yes, I'm proud that Michael Gates continues to serve our surf city, even when it's hard, in so many capacities, besides being our city attorney and continuing his desire to keep HB the best place to raise a family. And I can confidently and proudly say that Michael Gates is a star performer who has represented our Surf City now for 10 years in a stellar way. And I want to thank him and encourage him as our Surf City attorney. And off the clock, I support Chad Williams. He is a family man. He's a great youth pastor, a young adult pastor. I love his family. You could not go wrong by voting for him, so just gonna say. All right, that's all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Butch Twining. I'm an Air Force veteran and a 59-year resident of Huntington Beach, and I want to clarify some apparent misconceptions that have been going around the last few days. Number one, Chad Williams is a former Navy SEAL. Number two, Chad Williams is a Navy SEAL speaker. Number three, our city clerk and our Orange County Registrar of Voters agreed with Chad Williams being a Navy SEAL speaker. I concur. 4, Chad Williams fought bravely in Fallujah, Iraq. The plaintiff, number 5, the plaintiff in this most recent case challenging Chad's ballot title is a coward and a lifelong loser. Those that supported the attack on Chad Williams are cowards too. None of these cowards can hold a candle to a Silver Star recipient like Chad Williams. Chad has more bravery in his pinky finger than all of you put together. I am proud to stand with my brother in arms, Chad Williams, and my other partner, Don Kennedy. When you vote this November for City Council, please vote for Chad Williams, Navy SEAL, Don Kennedy, and Butch Twining. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, you fabulous four, Ed, Gracie, Tony, and Casey. You have quickly brought the winds of change to our city. Thank you. My name is Jeannie Gooden. My purpose here tonight is to express my gratitude to a man whose erudite endeavors are of the highest quality for our city, a man who's been a lifelong resident, attended local schools, graduated Pepperdine University with honors, attended Chapman University School of Law, graduating magna cum laude, and now serves as our city attorney. Michael's only concern is to give our city quality legal representation, and he certainly has. As a family man, Michael believes families are the bedrock of society and continues in his quest to strengthen families in our served city. These are just a few of his amazing accomplishments, and time does not give me the honor of sharing many more. He won a lawsuit against the state last year to bring $38 million back to our city and from the state. Let me repeat. Michael's legal erudite ability won $38 million back to our city's coffers against the state. We understand the state's wish is to control our freedoms and make us their serf. I applaud you, Michael, for keeping us free and safe from the tentacles of the state. He has saved and protected over $300 million since 2014 in performing good legal services alone. Listen carefully, citizens of this beautiful city. Michael has saved or protected over $300 million with his fine legal mind alone. These are just a few of the amazing deeds Michael Gates has performed, and his record is stellar. I humbly thank Michael for keeping my family safe and free from the tentacles of the state. He is truly a man worthy of his hire, a man whose only desire is to serve, and he has and does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Dion Cronkite, long-term resident of Huntington Beach. And how do you follow that? That was just amazing. I'm here tonight to say thank you to the Fab Four, all of you, Gracie and the group. Our city council is under attack. We're all under attack by the state of California. Don't let our brave city council stand alone in this. Everyone has to do their part. They need to come up and start taking care of some of their own personal problems and help the city council move on. And Mike Gates, what can you say? Thank you, Mike, for taking on the state of California and winning. We appreciate that, and we really appreciate all that the council has done. You've come in and you've taken over 120 challenges that were negative to Huntington Beach, and you took them off. And just keep going with that. We're behind you, and hope for the Chad, for the HB3 to show up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, City Council members, and thank you for all the work that you guys do. I know it always comes from the heart, and you guys are doing the best job you guys possibly can. However, there's a water tower that's a house that's on PCH, And right next to it, there's a light, there's a gas station there, and that's Admiralty. It's actually 17th Street in Admiralty. It says Admiralty Bridge Rehabilitation Program, and they're building, I thought that they were gonna be rehabilitating the bridge, but instead they're putting a 3-phased street light on both ends of a little tiny bridge, and it is the most wasteful. I mean, they have a 3-phase light, a red, yellow, and green, and it also has, I think, a left-hand turn lane, and it's only has one lane going one way and one lane going back. And on the bridge, it's a light in the beginning and the light at the other end of the bridge. I mean, and I know that these lights cost like $1 million for every corner. It's $2 million for no reason at all, except to agitate the people that live there, like me, that has lived there for 23 years. I mean, why do you guys, can you possibly look at this stuff and see why you guys do these things? And I encourage everybody to, the next time you guys see that water tower, go to the gas station, look out on the left. If you're coming from the water tower, just look at the first light, look at the left side, and there's a little tiny bridge, and there's gonna be a 3-phase street light, and this is the corner that water goes up to 18 inches, and they can't do anything about it. So if you're parked there, your car gets flooded, and they can't do anything about that, but they're putting a 3-phase street light on both ends of the bridge, and they're working on it right now. Please take a look at it and see what, this is just a real waste of resources, and I think that but a lot of departments.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Next 10 speakers.
Okay, next 10. Larry Shio, Russ Neo, Dr. Francis Marquez, Mary Jo Beretich, Tim Holland, Tim Geddes, Harry McLaughlin, Ken Inoue, Steve Engel, and Larry Slonim. Please come up to the podiums. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Francis Marquez. I'm a council member in the city of Cypress, where I was raised, and a candidate for Orange County Board of Supervisors District 1. I stand before you today to talk about the resignation of Supervisor Andrew Doe, which I support, agenda item 23. On November 28, 2023, I was the first person to urge the Board of Supervisors to investigate Supervisor Doe's actions. When I arrived at the board on that day, the agenda item addressing an unethical vote that he had taken, it was agenda item 21, contract compliance manual, had been pulled. I was compelled to stay all day and speak during public comment at 2:45 because I wanted the residents of District 1 in Orange County to know about the troubling allegations against Supervisor Doe. 2 weeks earlier, he had voted in favor of a $3.1 million contract for a nonprofit his friend managed and where his daughter worked, and never disclosed the family relationship or recused himself. I am haunted by the fact that some of the money that was given away impacted vulnerable seniors. It was money from the American Rescue Plan. It was COVID money to feed vulnerable seniors and people with disabilities. They did not receive the meals they needed during an isolating and deadly pandemic. I live with and care for my 91-year-old mother, and I want to say that our most vulnerable residents deserve to be respected and cared for, not betrayed during their time of need. We need guardrails in place to stave off corruption and earn the people's trust again. I am recommending an independent ethics commission without political appointees so we can have our conflict of interest laws enforced to end the misuse of taxpayer dollars. I also recommend an Office of Contract Compliance, tasked with—
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tim Geddes here. My comments are in 2 parts. Part 1, with Election Day barely 8 weeks off and voting earlier than that, It is time we all become critics of those players on the municipal stage and their supporting cast. There is one word that describes the emotion which should be felt by the city council majority, the city attorney, their endorsed council candidates, and their vocal mega mouth breathers. That word is shame. Shame for your lack of transparency in almost all you do. Shame for both ignoring the bulk of the community and pandering to partisan special interests and your political base. Shame for trashing the reputation of our city through your ceaseless and potentially ruinous assault on proper processes in governing and the bellicose and buffoonish behavior in your authoritarian actions. Just like your hero, Donald Trump, you confuse leadership with projecting power and notoriety with respect. That is shameful. Shame for obstructing the community-oriented efforts of your council minority colleagues to actually get things done. Shame for promising more of the same if you get your way in November. If you don't feel shame, there is a replacement word which applies: disgrace. End of part one. Part two. I fully support agenda item 23, which calls for the resignation of our corrupt supervisor, Andrew Doe. This is our supervisor, and we should call a crook, just like his former boss. Lock them up. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Mary Jo Baratage. I've been a resident for 41 years here. I'm here tonight to speak to you about a certain segment of item number 19, and it references a general plan map, and it's ordinance number 4321, and it cites that certain changes need to be made to the general plan map and the city zoning map. One of those changes that we do agree with is to accept the zoning changes from the industrial to residential medium density RM for the parking lot of the Newland Street that had been created for the workers on the, building the newest AES facility across the street. But this ordinance should have gone a little step further, and that is to change the general plan map to agree with the zoning map. The commercial visitor serving pink strip on the general plan map parcel shows that it's actually wrong. The original CV that is located in that area is a corner of 2.5 acres at the corner of Beach and PCH, and the other one is 1.06 acres parcel at the corner of Newland and PCH. The rest of the CV is covering existing sensitive wetland and also the Cabrillo Beachfront Village Mobile Home Park. This is unacceptable. It is, needs to be corrected per the zoning map approved by the California Coastal Commission, and I have contacted them regarding this. I have lived here, as I said, for 41 years, and we homeowners who live next to this pink line of city CV properties, supposedly, on the general plan map, were never given this information.
Thank you.
As required.
Next speaker.
I'm Harry McLaughlin. I live in Huntington Beach. Red Herring Day. It's Red Herring Day here in Huntington Beach with agenda proposals to make us all screech, ostensibly meant to piss off the libs and provide more red meat for their MAGA sibs. But methinks the five have a nefarious purpose to keep their air show corruption below the surface. Children at risk, and tobacco is bad, and a flagpole is needed to make jingoists glad. Nothing to see here, move along, go away. These five MAGA extremists will soon rue the day they bamboozled the fine folks of this seaside town to give their tax dollars to their crony airshow clown. This coming election, 3 more clowns are running. They primp and they strut and they think they are cunning. Do not be fooled by their ads and their flash. Like their MAGA 5 mentors, they'll come for your cash. Like Santana, Anaheim, and Supervisor Doe, corruption is here. Investigations will show. Keep your eyes on the ball. Don't be distracted by culture war ordinances that will be enacted. They're crapping their pants now. They know justice is coming. We're trading out things because they're finding out things because there are leaks in their plumbing. Justice is coming, though it may take a while, but justice is sweet, and we're all going to smile.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Larry Schlenham, and I've been a resident at Huntington Beach for over 40 years. My wife and I do not support item 20 relating to ordinance number 4326 and adding chapter 1.23 to the Huntington Beach Municipal Code. I urge all the city council members to either A, table this proposal until it can be redrafted into a more fair ordinance, accounting for and respecting every Huntington Beach citizen's rights, or B, make it into a ballot measure for a special election so that all Huntington Beach residents can vote on it instead of being dictated to by the city council. Our reasoning, under findings L&M, Michael Gates wrote, people of Huntington Beach have the right to govern their municipal affairs, and as a charter city, that derives its power from the consent of the people. That means all the people, not just the people that you represent, which is less than the majority of the city. You're clearly not representing the majority of the residents in this city of 200,000 people or the 130,000 voters that are in this city. And you certainly aren't representing my wife and I, and haven't, in a manner we expect and demand. This new ordinance is very clearly based on religious morals, and those are not morals that many residents, including my wife and I, agree with. The proposed new ordinance flies in the face of that and our chosen religion, and we will not sit idly by while the majority council and its city attorney spend our tax dollars attempting to impose and enforce a citywide moral standards that we do not and will not accept. This proposal and ordinance should be withdrawn or rewritten, or at the minimum, put to a public vote. And even if you do that, I don't know that that ordinance would stand up to the constitutional right of the practice of freedom of religion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Larry Scheel, a homeowner in Huntington Beach for 34 years. You know, there's a lot of disagreement in this chamber tonight, but one thing I hope all of us can agree upon is that Huntington Beach is a very special place to live. We attract visitors and sports competitions from all around the world and are a worldwide destination. According to our city charter, we retain the benefits of local government by enacting laws, rules, regulations, and procedures pertaining to the governance and the operation of our city. It is incumbent upon those who govern and make decisions for the city to legally as well as morally abide by the provisions of this charter in its strictest sense to assure the continued success and well-being of our city. We need to fight hard for our city's charter to preserve it as it is written. Currently, there are 3 attempts to change or undermine our charter. The first would increase our city council members' pay to 50% of the average OC Superior Court judge's pay. That would increase their monthly pay from about $175 to $3,929. Second change would remove the council's ability to have oversight over our public library. And the third change would eliminate our ability to elect our city clerk, our city treasurer, and city attorney. All 3 of these proposed charter amendments need to be rejected, or we will seriously undermine our charter. We cannot make changes every time some people disagree with a majority of council members. We, the citizens of Huntington Beach, elected you. It is your responsibility to uphold the provisions of our city's charter, namely, abide by the provisions of this charter in the strictest sense to assure the continued success and well-being of our fair city. And I thank you very much for all you've done for us.
Thank you.
Can you fill out a blue card? I'd like to talk with you afterwards. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Russell Neal, and I live in Huntington Beach. The founders of this nation believed in the superintending total government of God over all men and nations, and in the fear of this God gave us the limited constitutional government we enjoy, thus ensuring our liberty. Those who lack this limiting principle are driven to grow government without any boundaries. Totalitarian government is the inevitable result of rejecting God's government, as history proves. Totalitarian governments like communist and fascist always take children from their parents, as with Lenin's Young Communist League, the Hitler Youth, and now it appears California public schools. This attack on parental rights reached a new alarming level with AB 1955, and pushback by this city is entirely appropriate. I fully support item 20, which upholds the God-given rights of parents and children. Let me add that the effort to strip the description of Navy SEAL from Mr. Williams' ballot description is despicable. It both denies voters information they deserve and deprives him of honor he has earned. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable members of the City Council. My name is Kenny Noe. I'm a 50-year resident of the city. I'm here tonight to talk about two matters. The first matter is I'm very concerned about the fact that we've not had a full-time city manager for 9 months. Since the city manager's office has oversight of 12 city departments, is responsible for the overall management of 1,500 employees who provide a wide range of services to the people, and who has an operating budget of almost $500 million, it seems imperative that we should have had a full-time city manager now. Huntington Beach needs to have a full-time city manager is particularly acute in light of the fact that in the last 2 years, every city department head has left the city of Huntington Beach. We need a full-time city manager to coordinate the efforts of these amazing people. It's particularly challenging to me that we don't have a city manager because we have a very competent assistant city manager who many of us believe should have had the position 9 months ago. I'd also like to talk about our deficit. In prior discussions, we've agreed that the City Council approved a $33 million deficit for the next 4 years. I ran some numbers, and if it turns out that the city issues only $500 million of bonds to fund the infrastructure and repairs that we need, that would add another $35 million a year of cash flow that we would need to pay for our government services. This is a major problem, ladies and gentlemen. The existence of these looming deficits underscores the reality that the city and the City Council needs to focus on matters that impact the city. They must focus on matters, otherwise we will face fiscal responsibilities and limitations.
Thank you.
And nobody.
Next speaker, go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. My name is Steve Engel, and I'm here to talk about item number 11. A little change of pace. Sorry about that. We're pushing the. Hopefully you'll support the Huntington Central Park Nature Plateau naming. One thing, we like to talk a lot about collaboration, and we like to talk about city and private collaboration, and this is a case that we have in this case. We worked with the city to move the restrooms that were up at the area above the wooden amphitheater back to where the location is now. It's much safer and much more accessible to everybody. The Tree Society we didn't purchase, we got thousands of dollars of boulders donated when Site 1 closed its doors, and you'll see those boulders all over town. So we picked out the most beautiful boulders, and those are up at the Nature Plateau, so hopefully you get to go up there. The trees, 10 of our 50 trees are up there at the Nature Plateau, with an amphitheater above the area above the amphitheater. And we have 20 plants were planted by middle schoolers. So this is all at little cost to the city. It's thousands of dollars of improvements. We hope that you folks will support the Nature Plateau naming. First, I'd like to thank all the people who've donated to us. I'd like to thank the Community and Library Services and Public Works who've worked so hard on this. So anyway, we hope that you would support that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, hello. Well, I'm here to support what Mr. Inouye said about the budget deficit. It is the budget deficit is $7.4 million, which is projected for the next budget year, beginning July 2025. That is very serious. How are we going to make up this money so we can be spending money for city services? What is the plan? So I have supported the housing element. I know the housing element has been put, I don't want to say on hold, but we have more time to deal with the housing element. But I strongly support bringing more housing in here because property tax revenue is the biggest source of the money that goes to any city, and particularly this city. And so by bringing in more housing, they'll have to pay, the builders will pay money. They'll have to pay money to our planning department, to the various departments just to build property here. So that's why I'm saying that, going along with the housing element, really, even if it's got slowed down, I think should be done. And it's because it's for affordable and moderate and above moderate income. It's not limited to low income people. And therefore, I think people who work in this city should be able to live in this city. And the Costa Mesa mayor just signed on to the housing element, and his statement was so that the people who work in this city don't have to drive an hour or two to get to work. And that goes for all of our hotel workers who are supporting every single of our events. We have events here and more events, and it's wonderful. But we're bringing in a lot of money. But how can the people who live here, including city employees who work here, afford to live here? That just doesn't seem right. And so,
thank you.
Okay, sure.
Next speaker.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. To our citizens, please go to www.protecthb.org. Find out where to sign up for our 2 petitions to stop the Gang of 5 from deciding what HB citizens can read and stop the unvetted, untrained 21-person book review committee and stop any more efforts to sell out our beloved libraries. A concerned city made these videos I'm going to show and Joe will show to stop the attack on our libraries. By the way, we have Lisa, I think Lisa Lane's right here still, yeah. Our MAGA Lisa Lane did get a lawyer to change her opponent's designation of job on the voting ballot as well. And I'd like to thank Matt Szabo for writing about the article on the matter of lawfare.
The Huntington Beach Council is meeting in part to consider potentially privatizing the city's libraries and controlling the branch's book collection.
This mom questions what the city is proposing.
That's exactly what I'm asking. I'm not really sure why we would need to change anything.
It's a public library. It's paid for through our taxes and everything. And there's wonderful people that work here.
The Friends of the Library want to keep things just the way they are, and they're gathering signatures of support on 2 petitions.
Thank you.
Another one? So, thank you very much. My name is Joe Shapiro, and in lieu of my speaking this evening, I'm going to show another video.
That was the video.
That's it.
There was number 3. Okay. That was number 3. Okay, never mind.
Well, I guess we'll have another video, so. Sorry to disappoint. Okay, is that it?
You got 2 videos.
2 videos? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next 10 speakers.
Okay, we're getting close. Kathy Carrick, Ashley Lara, Jignesh Patiar, Jeff Rial or Bio, Perry Clitheroe, Dave Wooding or Woods, David Reinerson, Christopher Rini, Hannah Martinez, and Kim Sorgent. Also, last call for Patty Pappas, David Clapp, George G., Steve Engel, and Tim Holland.
Go ahead.
I guess me first?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm Jeff Beal. Been in Huntington Beach for 3.5 years. I have 3 kids, 18, 21, and 23 next week. I'm here to say that in 23 years as a parent, I have never once worried about what my rights were. Children have the right to choose when, with whom, and how much they share about the most intimate and personal details of their lives. Getting the Huntington Beach city employees involved in that doesn't help kids, doesn't help the parents. It's dangerous, and we shouldn't do it.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Chris Rini, 43-year-old Huntington Beach native, and wow, I wish we all had a dad like that. Okay, so I'm here because earlier today I asked myself, frankly, what would Jesus do? And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that he would speak out against Agenda Item 20. I am against this because it's ineffective, poorly written, and financially irresponsible. Ordinance 4326 in 1.23.121, Section I says there are 35 primary schools and 5 high schools, yet Section 1.23.020D says, quote, no educators in the city of Huntington Beach, including but not limited to instructors, counselors, or other adults entrusted with the teaching or caring of children who work in the city's libraries, parks, city recreational facilities, community services facilities, etc., shall withhold any information related to a child's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression to parents of said children with or without the child's consent. Noticeably lacking here, it does not mention teachers in any of the 30-something public schools, nor any of the private schools, including my own school of St. Bonaventure, class of 95. Now, it does think, though, if it's city employees, does this mean it's here to put the librarians and the junior lifeguards under fire? Because I would think the junior guards have more important things to do than be policing young children's gender potential, I'm forgetting the term, gender stereotypical behaviors. There's more to do. Also, as a teacher, I'm a mandated reporter. This involves 3 trainings plus a certification per year. With the city under this financial precipice of $7.4 million, who's going to pay for these trainings? Lastly, why all this fuss? It honestly seems like obfuscation to take us off the air show rather than anything intended for results or any good for the sake of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Council. My name is Perry Clitheroe, and I'm here tonight to oppose Agenda Item 20. Agenda Item 20 mandates that teachers serve as Huntington Beach's very own morality police, something I'm sure the Ayatollah would be very proud of. This ordinance is dangerous. Not all parents love their children. It's sad, but it's true. When this ordinance was proposed, and we can go look at the documents from a month ago, we cited Elon Musk, the plight of Elon Musk, who is grieving the loss of his son. Elon Musk said, "He is dead, killed by the woke mind virus." Of course she isn't dead. She isn't male. She is Elon's daughter. She is alive. She is well. She has been abandoned, however, by her father, cut off, unloved, and she is being used up as a punching bag now to serve his political ambition. Your ordinance would mandate that our teachers forfeit their judgment to yours. Your ordinance would mandate that our teachers snitch on their students, even to parents they know to be dangerous. Your ordinance will cause teachers to quit or resist. If you do this during the middle of the school year, I don't know how that works. In fact, it's probably their duty to quit or resist in this situation. We live in a free country. It is not your job to police this issue.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good
Yeah.
evening, council members. I'm full support of the mayor's agenda item here. You know, on March 27th, 2023, Aubrey Hale went on a shooting rampage in Nashville against Christians, killing 3 adults and 3 children. Her manifesto was withheld by the FBI and local government, where former shooter manifestos were released post-haste. So the Streisand effect would ask, what's so special about this journal? Why hide its contents? So as recent as a few hours ago today, actually, pages of this journal and this manifesto were released. And only once you read it can you understand the damage that this poor girl went through. The writing showed that she was agonizing over her gender identity, wallowed in self-pity, which in turn morphed into Christian hatred. She hated herself so much that she was not in the right body, that she went out and chose to exercise this hatred by attacking her own community. This manifesto shows blatantly that this narrative to push gender-affirming care ends in the same depression, not just for her, for many now stuck in the wrong bodies. A child will believe anything you put in front of them. They believe a man can deliver presents to everyone all in one night. Making children believe that they can be the opposite gender without the full follow-through of the opposite gender is disgusting. That's like promising to make your Yamaha motorcycle into a car, knowing full well that major components are missing. And it's hilarious, too, that the left is a proponent of body positivity, but it falls flat when it comes to gender. These kids need to be shown love, to love who they are for themselves, just as they show love for Lizzo, for who she is. This is the exact ideology that parents and many of us in here are against. If you're 18, by all means, go ahead, chop off your breasts, chop off your genitals, but leave the children alone. In the end, there are no secrets between a teacher and a student that will ever stop a Nashville incident from happening again. Protect the children.
Thank you.
Protect the children.
Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Kathy Carrick. Well, it seems that it's happened yet again. Some, instead of proclaiming their own skills and abilities, have chosen to totally denigrate an opponent with lies. They chose a multiple-time convicted drunk driver to file a petty lawsuit just in time to put a negative stamp on the campaign of an honorable candidate, while at the same time making it impossible for him to have time to fight back. Additionally, they make up Facebook posts proclaiming that Chad Williams is not a Navy SEAL, perpetuating a lie that is total fabrication. My goodness, friends, isn't it time that we stop trying to win elections by berating our opponents? How about instead of vilifying our opponents, we explain our own accomplishments and the abilities we will bring to the table if elected? Here are some words I found in my research of this topic. One way that SEAL training is a lot like the rest of the world is that there is an easy way to quit. You can simply give up, ring a brass bell in the middle of the compound in front of all your peers, and walk away. The vast majority of trainees ring that bell. The very few who don't become U.S. Navy SEALs. At the end of the day, SEAL training is not about how many pull-ups you can do or how fast you can swim or run the obstacle course. It's about the fire that burns in your gut. Candidate for City Council Chad Williams didn't ring the bell. He stayed the course. He had the fire that burned in his gut, and he went on to fight hard to protect our freedoms in foreign lands. Isn't that the kind of person we want on our City Council? One that doesn't give up, one that has the fire burning in their gut, to make Huntington Beach a better place? Please think about it and make your vote count. Join me in voting Chad Williams, Butch Twining, and Don Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, Kim Sorgente. I come here as a representative of Tony Roman of Basilicos. I bring a message from Tony. If you're not a lover of your country and God, then you can just tune this out right now. This is the message from Tony. Tony Roman doesn't do politics, so he sent me today to speak on his behalf. Tony wanted to first thank fellow patriots Don Kennedy and Pat Burns for following through on their promises. He also made it clear that I only address the 4 conservatives on the council because, in his view, the 3 woke anti-Americans up there are insignificant, so he refuses to acknowledge them. He calls them the enemy, and this proposal is about honoring the heroes who fight to defend the flag we all love and all that it represents. The very same things our enemies, like the 3 leftist tiny tyrants in training on the council, detest and seek to destroy. This agenda item Tony brought to Pat Burns and Don Kennedy is very simple. Tony's friend, John Baca, is an American hero. He served his country and was willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for it. In doing so, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. When I went with Tony and our friend Doug to visit Baca Park in Huntington Beach, we noticed a plaque commemorating John Baca. But Tony noticed there wasn't a flagpole flying the stars and stripes anywhere. In Tony's opinion, a park named in honor of an American patriot is unfinished until the flag the hero fought for is flying high and proud, reminding every American that they live in the greatest country in the world. And just on a small, simple side note, John Baca is a very humble individual. He threw himself on a grenade to sacrifice himself for his friends, his fellow platoon leaders, fellow platoon members, and greater
Thank
love
you.
has no man.
Next speaker, go ahead.
Good evening, Board. The American Academy of Pediatrics revealed alarming levels of attempted suicide among transgender. More than half of the transgender male teams who participated in the survey of American Academy of Pediatrics reported attempting suicide, while 29.9% of the females did. The Mayo Clinic says puberty blockers for transgender teens causes weight change and mood changes. That's not good. Teens already are subject to that, especially young girls going through their menstrual period. Teens are vulnerable. When the schools and the libraries have books that start advertising it's okay to be the opposite of what you are, the young become confused and think, maybe I'll try it. And when they have the counselor going along with the program and the parents aren't told, then that's pure danger. Then, when the child tries this thing based on what the counselor or the books say it's okay to do, they become more confused. Then, when they're told you don't have to tell your parents and they won't, that's even more confusing. Then, when they have a day off of school to go to the medical doctor, if they want to change their gender and don't have to tell the parents the truth, it's called disobedient. You are basically saying it's okay to disobey by the child. They don't have to tell their parents. Would any of these parents want the government, counselors, or teachers telling our children it's okay to disobey? Of course not. This problem was not popular when we were young, growing up. Why now? Because parents are allowed to give the advice, not the books or the counselors in the schools that are basically promoting. And you weren't taken away from your parents when you were young, when they disagreed. That alone messes up our kids. Nowadays, schools are pushing not to listen to the parents and to read these horrific sexual books. And oh, what the counselor and the teen talk about, you don't have to tell your parents. That is sick and confuses our kids more and more again. And as I said, it teaches disobedience. Would you want your kids to be disobedient? Of course not. Well, then why are we, the schools, allowing it with our kids? Because they're not your kids, right? How dare the schools and government are allowed to indoctrinate our kids? We are paying you and paying for taxes, and our money should not go to this garbage.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
David Reinerson, 27-year resident of Huntington Beach. Citizens of Huntington Beach, let's recount what our city council majority has accomplished. They pushed 3 charter amendments onto the primary ballot at a cost of about $400,000 after campaigning on no charter amendments. One passed, hasn't been implemented yet, but they still want to sue the state anyway. The other one, on flags, needs to be amended because, guess what? They forgot the Medal of Honor flag when they crafted that ordinance. They passed a book banning ordinance, but haven't implemented it yet, but they still want to sue the state over it. They presided over the loss of the city manager and every single department head, and they approved an egregious settlement with Pacific Air Show for over $32 million and 40 years of damages the city was not responsible for and tried to hide that settlement from the public. But rather than try to do better, they launched more contentious issues like trying to make teachers and city employees responsible for reporting children's gender expressions to parents and launching another ill-conceived charter amendment. Distraction from their incompetence. They recruit people from all over Southern California to come support their harebrained proposals at city council meetings, and they even want to pay the city attorneys an extra 10% for doing their jobs of litigating. Is it any wonder that Mr. Gates wants to sue at the drop of a hat? That's on top of the 49% increase the city attorney's office has gotten over the last 2 years. A vote for their endorsed candidates is a vote for more fiscal mismanagement, more ill-advised lawsuits, and more chaos. Vote for competence over chaos. Vote for Dan Kalmick, Natalie Mosier, Rhonda Bolton, and Regina Blankenhorn.
Thank you. Next speakers. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Gina Clayton Tarvin, the clerk and the 5-time president of the Ocean View School District Board of Trustees. I've been honored to serve the children and families of OVSD as a trustee since 2012. And it's been my honor to bring openness and transparency to the city of Huntington Beach with my victory in exposing the air show settlement and giveaway. What you may not know about me is that I am a 6th grade teacher and I've taught for 29 years. My life's work has been educating children. Therefore, I am concerned by item 20 and the punitive targeting of educators in our community. I have a question. How many of you have sent your children to the Huntington Beach's beloved SANS program? What about the junior lifeguards run by the exemplary marine safety staff? Or what about story time facilitated by our stellar librarians? We parents rely on city staff to provide safe and enriching programs for our kids. Let city educators teach and leave parents to parent without threat of draconian actions. Follow state laws to protect children. It's the right and moral thing to do. Huntington Beach employees, if you can hear me, please know that the collective bargaining is your right in California. Item 20 is in violation of labor processes currently utilized by the city and its bargaining units. But here's the silver lining in all of this darkness and misery for Huntington Beach employees. The Ocean View School District is an equal opportunity employer, and we support our diverse staff and population of students. We have current job openings for universal instructional assistants that pay $25 per hour in our award-winning Kids Club program. So my offer is this, city employees of Huntington Beach. Come work at the Ocean View School District in a nurturing environment under stable leadership, where you will be respected as professionals. We welcome you to the Ocean View School District. Good.
Thank you. Next 10 speakers.
Okay, last call for Hannah Martinez. Doug Wooding. Okay, no further speakers, Mayor.
Thank you. Council committee appointment announcements. Do any council members have any appointments to announce? AB 1234 reporting. Does anyone have anything to report? Openness and negotiations. Does anyone have anything to disclose? City managers report. Do you have anything to report?
Nothing this evening.
Consent calendar for items 7 through 8. Would any council member like to pull any items?
Mayor.
9 and 16, Mayor.
9 and 16?
Mayor, can I do 12 and 15?
Hold on. What, Mayor put? Okay, and you're doing which one?
12 and 15, please.
I'd like to move the remainder of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for items number 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 14, 17, and 18. I'll take the roll. Councilmember Mosier,
Aye.
Bolton,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Strickland,
Aye.
McKeon,
Yes.
Kalmick.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bolton, number 9.
Thank you, Mayor. So item number 9 is the appointment of an interim chief financial officer. I just wanted to say that we were really unfortunate to lose Ms. Hahn after so many years of service to the city, but we welcome Mr. Kane, who will be the interim CFO to Huntington Beach. I do have a question, though, about the recruiting process or the plans for recruiting a CFO. So I would appreciate it if the staff could give us some information on what the plan is.
Hi, good evening. So I do have a quick update on that. We do have a recruitment in place currently, and the initial review period cutoff was last Wednesday. Now we're still accepting applications, but at this time my department is reviewing the applications in place to see if we can distill down a smaller group to pull in for interviews.
Okay, is internal recruiting part of the plan?
Internal recruiting, well, internal candidates are welcome to apply as well, but it's an open recruitment, meaning it's open to the public as well as current employees.
Okay, have any internal candidates applied?
Last I checked last week, I didn't see any, but I haven't reviewed it yet this week.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll move the item.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Councilmember Moser,
Aye.
Bolton,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Strickland,
Aye.
McKeon,
Yes.
Kalmick.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McKeon, number 12.
Yeah, this is just on the downtown bid, and I mentioned it a lot, and some residents did today, but just want to understand on the enhanced maintenance. They touched on, after big events, our streets sometimes are in disarray and dirty, so I just want to see if there's any way to really emphasize that, if we can add more power washing to the schedule, perhaps early in the morning. So if you guys can focus on that with the bid. It's not, we do get a lot of emails and calls with residents early in the morning walking their dogs, and I just want to see if it's possible to kind of enhance that maintenance and cleanliness on Main Street and downtown in general.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Chris Casanova, Economic Development Manager. The item before you tonight regarding the enhanced cleaning is in addition supplemental to the city's contribution. We are currently working with Malco, the provider, to analyze priority peak times, and we're working with Public Works to establish right now peak versus non-peak hours. So we hope to bring back that updated amount so that way we can address early hours and other things, problem areas, now that the downtown has evolved.
Perfect. I'll move the item.
Second.
I have another note on that too.
Councilmember.
Just one more thing that a member of the public brought up earlier, which was probably more related to community and library services with specific event permits. I know that we do have trash and additional cleanup included in those, but I think it's also important to really continue to review that that's sufficient on all of our permits and on all of our events. So thank you.
Chris, one more thing too. The resident also mentioned the bollards by Starbucks.
Yes, we have met out there with Denny. I think they have been on order. They just take a moment to.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Call the vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll. Councilmember Moser,
Aye.
Bolton,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Strickland,
Aye.
McKeon,
Yes.
Kalmick.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McKeon, number 15.
Yeah, I just would ask if Chief Haverly can kind of walk us through this agenda item. It's a big deal. It's some really positive things here, and I really wanted to pull it to bring attention to the community.
Thank you, Councilmember. Chief Lopez will be discussing.
His volume was a bit low, but he was introducing me to discuss it. So my name is Jeff Lopez, Division Chief with the Fire Department. And I'm happy to talk with you about item number 15, Mayor and City Council members. We're back again. This is our second time through. This is a funding opportunity that our local edition of Medi-Cal, which Cal Optima is the Orange County healthcare provider for Medi-Cal, and they have offered us again an opportunity to participate in what they call their variable rate range program. And that gives us access to participate with other funding entities that we collect funds together to show the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services in the feds that we're ready to play ball. They match those funds, and they basically spin it right back to us in about 45 days. So we're asking for about $470,000 in addition to what's already been funded, because we already funded what we had done last time. We're able to fund a little bit more, and we're going to get more because there's about 142% ROI on this. So last time we got back about $3.2 million in the exchange. This time we will be getting back about $3.9 million in the exchange. And so by adding that, another $469,000 or so, that's given us that increase. So it's another great opportunity. And thankful to the state of California and Cal Optima for offering this and allowing us to be part of this. And last year it went off without a hitch. They did give us the payment in 2 pieces. And so maybe we get it back in 2 pieces again, but it was really a quick, easy process. But it does take some planning and city staff. I'm thankful for the finance department, for the treasurer who has to figure out how to free up, because we make a big payment of about $3 million up front, and then they give us that and 3.9 more back. So we do have to transfer a large amount of money. So the staff has to plan for that and be ready for that. So I'm grateful for their cooperation.
Perfect.
Any questions about it?
No, I just want to highlight, like you said, before we brought in 3.2, and now we're looking at almost 3.9. So it's
Yeah.
always good to highlight that great work and the extra money you guys are bringing in. So I appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
All right, I'll move the motion
Second.
with the item.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Moser?
Aye.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland? McKeon?
Yes.
Kalmick?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Bolton, number 16.
Thank you. So item 16 is a contract side letter with MEO, and this is for increased pay for the attorneys in the city attorney's office. I have a question, and I'm not sure which staff member is the right person to address it to, but there was a communication from the Teamsters Union with a question about this item, and I didn't understand what the issue was, so I wanted to make sure that we are in compliance with our meet and confer obligations.
Yeah, Director Marissa Sir can handle that.
Okay, thank you.
So there were 2 questions from Teamsters. One was regarding this item related to the positions, and I believe the other item was related to the ordinance. Is that correct? So the meet and confer obligation regarding the side letter with MEO, we did meet with MEO, we discussed with them, and they took this to their membership for a vote. So we satisfied the requirement for the side letter.
Okay, I guess I don't understand. I mean, is their request something that holds up the approval of this?
I think I might be confused because I understood the meet and confer request to be related to the ordinance.
Right, right. I was just asking if this involved a meet and confer request, but the answer to that was no. So
No.
essentially, what does it involve?
Well, let me clarify. I think
Thank
the question from HBMT on this item is just asking for information. And they are not part of the bargaining unit that is approving this item. So they were asking for information about this item.
Okay.
And so that'll be provided to them,
Okay.
but this agreement is not with them. It's with MEO.
Okay. All right. With that, then I'll move the item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Moser?
Aye.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Kalmick?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on to number 19, the public hearing. Staff, please introduce your report.
Mayor, before the item starts, I'd like to announce some supplemental communication for that. So, supplemental communication received for public hearing, item number 19, 24-551. Memo received from Jennifer Villaseñor, Community Development Director, regarding the proposed approval of zoning map amendments number 23-001, 23-002, 24-001, 24-003, 24-004, and 24-005. Introduction of ordinance numbers 4306, 4316, 4321, 4323, 4324, and 4325. Approval of local coastal program amendment number 24-001, and adoption of resolution number 2024-14. Also, 12 email communications received regarding the proposed approval of zoning map amendments number 23-001, 23-002, 24-001, 24-003, 24-004, and 24-005. Introduction of ordinance numbers 4306, 4316, 4321, 4323, 4324, and 4325. Approval of local coastal program amendment number 24-001, and adoption of resolution number 2024-14. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This item is a request for a zoning map amendment, proposing to amend the zoning designation of 133 parcels to be consistent with the general plan designation. The general plan is a policy document that guides the city's land use decisions. And under state law, cities are required to adopt the general plan, and zoning ordinances have to be consistent with the general plan. There's no development proposed with this zoning map amendment, and through the process of presenting this to the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission asked us to break it down into multiple phases so that it could be more easily digested. So we created 6 groups, and they included a grouping that has city parks and city-owned properties, churches and schools, properties in the coastal zone, utility sites, commercial properties, and residential properties. We've provided a zoning map showing the existing and the proposed zoning, and we've included them as an attachment to the staff report. It's attachment number 13, in case you wanted to be able to look at it a little bit more closely. It's difficult to see it on the slideshow. We have a couple examples that we wanted to highlight. The first one is Bartlett Park. Bartlett Park is next to Newland Center. It is currently designated as commercial general in the zoning ordinance. However, the general plan is open space park, which is the appropriate designation for a city park. And this is proposed to be rezoned to open space park and recreation to be consistent with the general plan. Second example is a temporary parking lot on Newland across from AES. This site is currently designated industrial limited, but the general plan designation is residential medium density, and it's proposed to be rezoned to residential medium density to be consistent with general plan. Third example is Southern California Edison Substation on Brookhurst. This site has a zoning designation of residential agriculture, but the general plan designation is public, which is the appropriate designation for a utility site. So this site is proposed to be rezoned to a public, semi-public to be consistent with the general plan. Next is a series of single-family residential properties on the 600 block of Main Street. These properties currently have a commercial general zoning designation, but the general plan designation is residential. So this is proposed to be rezoned to residential to be consistent with the general plan designation. The proposed zoning is the same zoning that's found on the surrounding single-family properties, which allows the 3-story skinny development. The Planning Commission has been reviewing these zoning map amendments going back to October of last year all the way through July of this year. They held 2 study sessions and 7 public hearings on these items. So the Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of these map amendments because they are consistent with the general plan. They are consistent with a government code requirement to make the zoning consistent with the general plan designation, and they also address nonconformities. And that ends my summary.
Thank you. Do any council members have any questions? Okay, we will now open the public hearing. City Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Not for the public hearing item, Mayor.
Council Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
I've looked into this very deeply. We've received a lot of emails, but the more I looked into it, and I spent several hours looking into it, reading it, 2 meetings with staff, and there's a lot to dig into that, quite frankly, I'll admit that I've got a lot of questions that I'd like to look into a lot further, and I'm making a motion to continue the public hearing till October 1st at our council meeting and re-adjourn at that point with this item.
I'll second.
Mayor, I have a question before we continue this item. So this had 8 public hearings at Planning Commission. We've had some time to do it. So we understand, like, what are the questions that you're looking at? This should have been a simple code cleanup. I'm kind of disappointed that the Planning Commission even separated it out at a cost of $20,000 because the planning chair wanted to break this up to have even more discussions, and they didn't change a single thing over the 8 meetings that they had. They passed exactly what staff had presented back a year ago, effectively. Most of this is just general plan code cleanup. I know some residents had some concerns about residential agricultural zoning, around the SCE, but there is no RA zoning anymore. I know some of our mobile home park folks had some questions, but I was able to talk with them, and I think Mary Jo Baratich came and spoke about some of the future code cleanups that were needed. But what are some of the other concerns? I think those were the kind of
It's
the big
just
2.
general knowledge that there was a lot to consume, and I still don't grasp some of the changes and the purposes of them, but I'd like to learn more about the general plan. I'd like to look into that and make a more educated vote on this. You're right, it's probably simple, and I will probably review some of the Planning Commission's hearings, of which I did not attend, but I will maybe review what I have to. It's just general knowledge, and I'll feel a lot better if I can research or ask other questions that come up during my research. That's it.
I appreciate that. And I just have one quick question for staff. If we continue the meeting to a date certain, we don't have to renotice?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I have no problem with somebody wanting to have more information on that, so I'll support that.
I just have one question. Is there a timeline? The Pro Tem mentioned October 1st. Does that fit with any timeline that we would have to pass this?
Sure, yeah, we don't have an issue if you want to continue at another meeting.
Okay, thank you.
May I speak momentarily? Thank
Yes.
you. One of the things that Councilmember Kalmunk just brought up was the concern by some of the mobile home residents, which I know Mary Jo Baratich that came up was speaking about future things. But I did get a phone call today from another resident in the mobile home park still concerned that there was some type of zoning change that could directly impact them. Could you just speak to that, just because there might be more people listening, just to let them know that that wasn't what this is?
Sure, yeah. There are no changes proposed with any of these 133 properties that impact any mobile home parks. And there isn't consideration for the future as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, please call the roll.
So we have a motion, first and a second, to continue the public hearing to the October 1st City Council meeting.
Please.
Okay. Councilmember Mosier?
Aye.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland? McKeon?
Yes.
Kalmuk? Thank you. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on to number 20, ordinance for introduction. Staff, please introduce your report.
Thank you, Mayor. On August 6th, 2024, the City Council directed the City Manager Office to work with the City Attorney's Office to draft an ordinance declaring Huntington Beach is a parent's right to know law, a parent's right to know city, and in response to the Assembly Bill 1955, which was signed into law. Ordinance 4326 is provided for City Council consideration, and staff in the City Attorney's Office is here for any discussion you'd like to have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and vote yes on this. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you guys have questions?
Well, I'll make a comment. I'll give a gold star to whoever drafted the ordinance for creativity. This is some of the most tortured legal reasoning I have ever read. And the reason is because the city doesn't have any jurisdiction over this matter of education policy and practice. I'll be real interested to see what a judge says about this when the city sues over AB 1955, because we simply don't have any standing to do this. I think it would be a breach of our fiduciary duty as stewards of the public's money to pursue this with the public's money. So I want to be on record about that. The other concern that I do have about the ordinance is giving the city attorney the power to represent an individual plaintiff as opposed to representing the city. I don't think that's consistent with the city charter. I don't know if anybody wants to address that this evening, but I do not see any provision in Section 309 that allows the attorney for the municipal corporation to represent a private individual.
Sorry, Ms. Walton. You're correct, it is odd to do so. In the past, the city has done so. The city council has authorized the city attorney's office to represent or spend city funds to have outside counsel represent individuals when it's felt it would be beneficial to the city.
Can you give examples, please, that weren't elected officials or staff for the city?
That weren't elected officials or staff, I cannot give examples off the top of my head. No.
Well, if you can provide those at some point in the future, I would appreciate it.
I will let Michael know, and we'll try to get those for you before the next meeting.
Well, I'll second the mayor's motion.
Councilmember Kalnick.
Thank you. I have trouble following this ordinance to hit kind of the four corners of the box to really understand what it's going to do. I understand what it's trying to do, and I understand the politics of what it's trying to do. But we're putting very odd things that don't exist anywhere in our code into our municipal code. So on just the premise, forgetting what the actual item is, just some of the themes and issues that are going to be put into our code, which seem more like a resolution than an ordinance, that then have the pressure of law behind them. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, but a violation of any of our municipal code is either an infraction or a misdemeanor, and is that the case?
I believe it would result in an administrative citation.
Okay.
I believe that'd be an infraction in this case. It wouldn't be a misdemeanor.
Okay, it has to be defined as a misdemeanor in our code to be a misdemeanor. Everything else is just by default an infraction?
Yeah.
Okay. So infraction, so you get a ticket in the mail, apparently. But again, the legal findings, I've only seen the legal findings in our code in sections with regard to the building code. Some of these findings are internally inconsistent as well. The fact that we're talking about the High-Tussing versus San Diego case, which a judge already didn't, we lost in San Diego court on the housing case using the same case, so I'm confused as to why we're including that as a finding for why this is important. Additionally, when we start with letter C here in the first section, 1.23.010, it says students' sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, which are, I think, taken directly from AB 1955, and then cuts to that are private and highly personal. So if they're private and highly personal, why on earth are we placing the city in the middle of this? We provide services to residents like police, fire, roads, EMS, lifeguards, and a variety of community services classes at our senior center and the Sands. We provide camp to kids over the summer. But for sure, one of those services isn't looking in people's underpants or watching who's holding hands with whom. I just don't see how that's the role of government, and why this is I think, a massive expansion of government. I already talked about item K. I don't know why we think that this case is a saving throw for the city. It doesn't seem like it is because it's I believe it's a case involving the river or a nautical case out in San Diego. Item M is, I think, a pretty ridiculous finding to put, that we're demonstrably driving large economic producers out of California. I mean, SpaceX isn't based in Huntington Beach, and I believe SpaceX actually brought back a lot of their production as they shifted some back to San Diego. If we had folks saying we're leaving Huntington Beach, that would be an interesting finding, I think, to make for this. Furthermore, when we actually get to the meat of this ordinance, after we don't declare any terms other than parents, we don't declare what an educator is. Having laws, this is another law that we have put into place that's, I think, intentionally vague, or just because we're doing so many mental gymnastics to try to achieve a goal that doesn't actually come to fruition. I don't know, but we don't define these terms. We don't define who an educator is. We don't define who work in this section. So we talk about no educators in the city of Huntington Beach, including but not limited to instructors, counselors, or other adults entrusted with teaching or caring of children. So if we have minors, like at our camp, who may be 16, they don't apply to this. So that seems like a weird edge case if you're trying to achieve this goal. And then it says who work in the city's libraries, parks, city recreation facilities, community service facilities, or other city facilities or city-sponsored programming shall withhold any information. So again, who work in? We don't define, is that the city employees only? We don't define it. Is it city employees? Is it people that happen to be working? Maybe it's the contracted crew that, the janitorial crew at the senior center, and they see 2 kids holding hands. Are they now obligated to report? And if they don't, what happens? Are they in violation of this? Because it says they shall. Or does a parent have to come and question them? This creates a very, very turtles all the way down situation of edge cases because we don't define these terms. And unless we actually define what we're trying to accomplish here, which, again, I get a very nebulous, parents have the right to know, but I don't actually understand what it is we're trying to achieve, what the end goal is, what this law actually is trying to find a solution to. Because I haven't seen any evidence presented that there's a problem at all here in Huntington Beach. At all. I haven't heard a single parent come and testify, write in and say that we have a problem, we need you to solve it. I get a lot of emails of people sending things in saying, I've got a problem, I need your help to solve it. And I work very hard to try to solve those problems, whether it's a stop sign, whether it's traffic driving too quickly, whether it's graffiti, whether it's a zoning issue, whether it's any issue that we are within our purview as a municipal corporation to handle. That's what we're there to handle. But I have consistently seen over and over this council bring forward solutions to problems that just do not exist. And then we get to the part that gets even wilder, which I think is actually what we're trying to do here. And the other part is the red herring, is the distraction. In section 1.23.030, section B and C, for those following at home, we reiterate what the job of the city council already is. Upon a majority vote of the city council, the city attorney may initiate litigation. We already do that. I don't know why we're putting that into the code here. And we reference, as an aside, and this is just because I want to have clean code, why are we referencing AB 1955 in the code, but we don't define it anywhere in the code? So when someone comes and looks at this code 5 years from now, they're going to have a hell of a time trying to remember what the hell is AB 1955. When our SB 9 code, when we implemented that, it says SB 9 code defines what SB 9 is. SB 9 is Government Code Section 65852.21. We do not define this as Government Code Section, Education Code Section 220.1, which is what we should be doing in this for better code reference for those people who are going to end up suing us on this. I don't understand what our role is here. And we're going to start representing residents for their own grievances. We're going to spend our taxpayer money to represent any aggrieved citizen with regard to this specific issue. That's a very dangerous public policy decision without any overarching policy, any guardrails on what that looks like. It's absolutely insane that we're going to do that. And then we get to section D here, which references resolution 2015-61. And I was like, what the heck's resolution 2015-61? So I went and pulled up the resolution 2015-61 because it says the city attorney, because of resolution 2015-61, the city attorney may immediately engage in defense of the city in any legal challenge brought by the state or other agency for the city's adoption of this ordinance. So when you go and read 2015-61, it makes no reference to the city attorney immediately engaging in the defense of the city or in any legal challenge brought by the state or other agency for the city's adoption of standards. The only thing that that resolution allows us to do allows the city attorney to do is to initiate or prosecute on behalf of the city complaints or cross complaints or counterclaims related to, or claims related to subrogation, debt collection, bankruptcy, or claims indemnification, insurance coverage, policy interruption. It makes no reference to the city attorney's office being able to immediately engage in the defense of the city. There's no reason the city would need to immediately engage in the defense of this if it gets sued in court, right? There will be months before any of this happens. This looks like a secret way, a clandestine way, a dishonest way to expand the city attorney's power. And I cannot, on everything else, I think that that's the red herring to it. We no longer will be informed as the city council. In fact, this resolution amended a previous resolution, 2005-32, which eliminated the city attorneys. This was right after the new city attorney was elected, eliminated the right of the reason of the city attorney to have to tell the mayor that they were going to do any of the 6 enumerated tasks in this resolution. The staff report is thin, very similar to how all the staff reports from the city attorney's office are thin, that says we need to do this because we need to do this. And I had to go dig and ask the city clerk because it's deep in the archives of the city to get that staff report. So I don't understand why this is in this resolution. I don't know if you drafted this or who drafted this, but why we're we're citing a resolution that does not say what it says. And I don't know if we cite a resolution and then say something different because it says but that's not germane. Do we just increase and expand the role of the city attorney by ordinance?
You guys are enabling, if this was to be passed, the city attorney to immediately engage in the defense of the city in any legal action. How we got here was I met with city staff, Michael met with city staff, and I met with city manager's office and multiple department heads to determine what the Measure H item the city council passed they wanted us to do. So we developed this after meeting together and coming up with this. We're trying to best reflect what the council voted and requested us to bring back. If you guys believe there are errors or omissions, we can redo this. You can make a motion to amend it, and we can do that.
Right. Yeah, again, in addition to just the content of this being ridiculous and not in our wheelhouse and not the things we need to be working on. We need to be working on our budget. We need to be working on recruitment of executive staff, recruitment of a city manager, not trying to solve, again, solutions to problems that don't exist. We have no idea. Well, we haven't been briefed by council on what our potential, by legal counsel on what our potential exposure is to this, what the costs would be to join a lawsuit. In the future, I guess that we'd have to vote to join somebody else's. But again, the precedents that are set here to automatically defend on something, which there's no need to automatically defend on this, and to initiate legal action against the state on behalf of a city resident. So while I Googled a bit on this to see like, hey, is this a thing that cities do other places? They don't. There's actually a really interesting article from a law school saying that the role of city government is the municipal corporate board. And the municipal corporate board is there to defend the city itself and to defend the tasks and decisions of the corporate entity, not to go and freelance out hang a shingle out for anyone who's aggrieved, and we're gonna take our treasury, our tax dollars, and go spend them to litigate something that does not affect the city's corporate body. That is a breach of fiduciary, and I will not be supporting this.
If I could add one response to what Connor said. Thank you for the invitation to amend it, but I do want to say from my perspective that there's nothing that can be done to save it. It's just indefensible.
I just want to
Councilmember
ask
Strickland.
the city attorney, you mentioned that you'll get back to my colleagues other examples, and from your experience in the office, you saw other examples other than the city.
I've only been here 18 months. I have not personally seen other examples. I've been told there are.
Okay.
And
But you're
get
going
back and do some
to
research.
get that to all the members of the council.
I will speak with my department head, Michael, and he'll communicate with you guys. Yep.
And as far as you understand, the city attorney said there's other examples.
As far as I understand, the city council has authorized the city attorney's office to represent individuals in the past.
Okay.
That's as far as I
They have to be non-employees though, because because the city does have to represent employees as individuals. But what we're talking about is there an example, I just want to be clear about what my expectation is, of the city attorney authorizing outside counsel to represent some individual who's not a city employee or a contractor who has nothing to do with the city. Is that clear?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're looking for
thank you.
non-city employee, non-elected official, non-appointed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Moser.
Thank you. Number one, I am disappointed that City Attorney Gates is absent tonight. Thank you, Connor, for answering the questions, but as the person who wrote this ordinance, it's very unfortunate we can't speak to him directly. I am going to probably duplicate some of the things that my fellow council members have talked about, but I think it's important to do so because it's very questionable that we're doing this in the first place, and I think it's important to our community that we talk about these things. So I, too, strongly oppose this ordinance, which seeks to add a parent's right to know chapter to our municipal code. Despite the narrowing of this ordinance from the original proposal to apply only to educators within city facilities, it remains deeply problematic. This ordinance represents a significant overreach, as has been discussed, of our jurisdiction, a misuse of public funds, and a politically motivated attempt to insert government into the private lives of our residents. I will also address this section by section. Section A, State Assembly Bill 1955, signed into law by Governor Newsom, prohibits public schools from adopting or enforcing any policy requiring an employee to disclose information related to a student's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression without the minor student's consent. The ordinance references public schools, yet the City of Huntington Beach does not directly control or manage any public schools. What specific schools within our jurisdiction are we referring to? Connor?
After speaking with city staff, I confirmed that our understanding of what the council intended was all educators within the jurisdiction or within the territorial bounds of Huntington Beach. So that would include, I believe, the schools mentioned in the findings, as well as educators on city property.
The schools mentioned in the findings, can you remind me of that?
I'm sorry, I must have been looking at a previous draft. There isn't in the findings, but my understanding, confirmed with city manager's office, is that the intent of the council at the last meeting when they brought this forward was to cover all educators in the jurisdiction of Huntington Beach and the territorial area of Huntington Beach.
Okay, thank you. So the fact is that public schools are governed by school districts, which fall under state oversight. This ordinance assumes a role that the city does not have and fails to recognize the clear boundaries of our authority. Section B, numerous studies assert that transgender and gender nonconforming students suffer from increased harassment and abuse, leading to higher rates of suicidal thoughts and attempts. While this statement acknowledges the vulnerability of transgender and gender nonconforming students and youth, the ordinance ironically exacerbates these very issues. By inserting educators from the city government into these private matters, we are not protecting children. We are potentially putting them at greater risk. The atmosphere that this ordinance creates is one of fear and division, which could further harm these already vulnerable students and youth. This ordinance does not protect our children. It places them in harm's way. As somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Ms. Lingen, saying that what this does is makes kids paranoid in their own hometown. I don't want our kids to feel that way, and I don't want our community to be raising kids that don't feel comfortable to share about who they are or who they're becoming. Section C, inappropriate government involvement. The matters of student sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression are extremely private and should remain between the parent and child. Yes, these matters are indeed private and personal. So why is the city proposing to intrude upon them? This ordinance does exactly what it claims to oppose. It inserts government employees into the most personal aspects of a child's life, something that should remain within the family when the child is ready. The city's role should not involve dictating the terms of such deeply personal conversations. Section E, although the state may regulate education, AB 1955 exceeds the state legislature's authority and infringes on parents' constitutional rights. This ordinance suggests that matters of, actually I'm going to read another part. I'm going to switch it up. So in AB 1955, it says LGBTQ plus pupils have the right to express themselves freely at school without fear, punishment, or retaliation, including that teachers or administrators might out them without their permission. Policies that require outing pupils without their consent violate pupils' rights to privacy and self-determination. G, pupils have a constitutional right to privacy when it comes to sensitive information about them, and courts have affirmed that young people have a right to keep personal information private. So this is not a municipal affair, but a matter of the constitutional rights of children. Section J, the City of Huntington Beach is a charter city authorized to govern municipal affairs. This is not a municipal affair. The issues of sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, as has been mentioned, are deeply personal and private matters. They are not within the city's jurisdiction to regulate. The protection of these personal matters should include shielding them from government interference, not exposing them to it. This ordinance overreaches the authority granted to us as a charter city. Section L, the protection of parents and children from state interference over a student's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression is a municipal affair. No, it is not. The city's parents and children should be protected from interference by the city in these matters. A student's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression is a personal issue, not a municipal affair. I'll keep saying it over and over. The city should not be inserting itself into these private matters under the guise of local governance. Section M, as a charter city, Huntington Beach has a direct interest in protecting the rights of parents and challenging state actions driving large economic producers out of California. Does the city also have a direct interest in challenging its own actions that may be driving large economic producers out of Huntington Beach? This ordinance does nothing to address our own local economic challenges, and in fact, as was also mentioned by public comments earlier, may exacerbate them by creating a hostile environment that continues to deter businesses from staying or coming to our city. Section 1.23.020. No educators in the city of Huntington Beach, including instructors, counselors, or other adults in city facilities, shall withhold information related to a child's sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression from parents. Who exactly are these city educators, as Councilmember Kalmick asked? The ordinance fails to define this critical term, leaving it open to broad and potentially harmful interpretations. What training will be provided? What documentation will be required? Have human resources and the unions been consulted? This vague language creates a minefield of legal, ethical, and practical issues that have not been adequately addressed. The lack of specificity not only complicates enforcement, but also risks creating a chilling effect on those who work with children in our city facilities. And if it appears that an educator in the city does not enforce this ordinance, what happens to them? Are they written up? Are they fired? What retaliation or adverse action might take place? And what are the specific triggers that would require providing information to a parent or guardian? If a child, anyone under 18, under these standards, is in the library and appears to express a non-heterosexual orientation, a different gender identity, or a non-conforming gender expression, what is the librarian or educator to do? Should they ask the child for their name and library card so they can look them up in the system? Then what? Should they attempt to contact the parent whom they find in the system? When? What would they say? Do they have a relationship with that family or that child or that parent? What if this child is a regular user of our library? Will educators need to report to the parents each time they see them? Is this just really an attempt to push this child back into the closet and away from learning and growing? What if that phone call has an adverse reaction or places that child in danger? How will this affect our city resources? Will our educators spend more and more time reporting on children who appear to be LGBTQ+ until those children no longer come to the library? The next section, the city attorney may initiate legal action against the state on behalf of a city resident. As has been mentioned, this is an inappropriate use of city and taxpayer funds. The city attorney's role is to represent the city, not to act as private counsel for individual residents. And I imagine that that has not happened before, and I wait to find out that information from the city attorney. This ordinance is rooted in the personal political agenda of many that sit on this dais. One who is not here tonight, who is using this issue to further their own ambitions at the expense of our city, our children, and our community. The notion that public funds could be used to litigate on behalf of private residents is a gross misuse of resources and sets a dangerous precedent. It is clear that this ordinance is not about protecting parental rights or the well-being of our children. Instead, it is another politically motivated effort to pick a fight with the state and distract from the real issues that matter to our residents. Also, to distract from things like the disastrous Pacific Air Show settlement. This ordinance is a distraction, a weak attempt to shift attention away from the council majority's failures. The overwhelming feedback from our community opposes this ordinance. Our residents are calling for a focus on real problems and real solutions. We need to be fostering within our community open communication between parents and children rather than government mandates. As one community member said, if parents are concerned about their right to know, the solution is simple: talk to your children. Keep open lines of communication and build trust within your family. Government intervention is not the answer. In conclusion, this is fundamentally flawed. It overreaches the city's jurisdiction, misuses public funds, and is driven by political motivations that do not serve the best interests of Huntington Beach. This ordinance does not protect our children. It places them at greater risk. It does not empower parents. It undermines their relationship with their children. And it does not serve our community. It divides us further. I look out at these council chambers and I see a straight line down the chairs, and it is so unfortunate. I want our city to be okay and to heal, and this is not the way to do that. Let us focus on creating a welcoming and safe environment for our children, one where they can grow into their best selves without the intrusion of government mandates that do more harm than good. I urge the council to reject this ordinance and focus on real issues that truly matter to our city. Let's get back to basics: public safety, quality of life, economic development, infrastructure. Let's create stability and be fiscally responsible. Instead of a parent's right to know city, let's get back to being Surf City. Thank you.
Councilmember Strickland.
If we're going to talk about political motivations, let's talk about the motivations coming from Sacramento, because let's face it, the government overreach that everybody talks about is the overreach coming from Sacramento and passing AB 1955. It's Sacramento that drove the wedge between children and their parents. No one has more at stake in the future of a child than that of the parent of that child. The children are not the property of the state. The children are under the parents' guidance. No one has more at stake in that children and that child's future than the parents. And so if we're going to talk about political motivations, let's talk about where they actually come from. They're coming from the state of California, Gavin Newsom, and their agenda. And at the end of the day, look, I do think that some of the arguments on my other side are some arguments are valid. But at the end of the day, I'm going to fall on the side of parents. I'm going to fall on the side of parents' right to know about what's best for their children. And this red herring that comes up about a distraction from the air show that you guys keep repeating, I just want to remind everybody here, any long-term contract that the air show does has to come back to the city council. So all those things that are saying hundreds of millions of dollars out there, that's nothing but hyperbole from people who want to run for office. And at the end of the day, we are doing the public's work, and I will repeat, we just passed an unbelievable contract for public safety to keep Huntington Beach safer. And again, this red herring is all about people on this dais who are running in November and not, you want to talk about political motivations, it's more about your election in November than what's on before us right here today.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion, we have a second. Please call the roll.
Yeah, I'm sorry, one more question for the Director of Human Resources, because I don't think she got to finish talking about the meet and confer from HBMT. So they wrote in about this as well, right?
Correct, yes, they did.
Okay, so I don't know how we didn't meet and confer with them about this in particular, is that correct?
We have not met with them yet, no.
Okay, so can we pass this without having done the meet and confer with them?
City attorney or attorney.
I'm going to have to look more into that. If the unions and our staff determine that there could be some change in working conditions, we might want to go meet with them. However, most time we can pass ordinances without. I think we'll have to go back to. I'm not an expert in employment law, and I don't have the answer off the top of my head.
That's fine, thank you. Okay, well, I just want to express the reservation that we haven't done the meet and confer yet, so I don't think it's appropriate for us to try to pass this right now. So that's all. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Councilmember Moser?
No.
Councilmember Bolton?
No.
Burns?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland? Aye. McKeon?
Yes.
Kalmick?
No.
Okay, motion passes 4-3. And with that, I have to read the title for introduction, so, okay. Ordinance number 4326, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Huntington Beach, adding chapter 1.23 of the Huntington Beach Municipal Code relating to parents' right to know city. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to council member items. Mayor Pro Tem Pat Burns, please introduce your item.
As the speaker said earlier, there's a park in Huntington Beach over in the area of Ellis and Gothard, John Philip Baca Park. John was a resident in this city for a while, and somehow Tony Roman, a restaurant owner in this city, they became friends, and Tony went to the park and found that there was no flagpole in the park that could fly an American flag. And I have to agree that to show honor for that man who won the highest award that can possibly be given to a soldier in any of our military services, that would be fitting. A nice pole flying the American flag. John Baca was on tour in Vietnam when he was leading a patrol unit to, I believe it was a rescue mission, and while set up in a hole, a fragmentation grenade was thrown in the hole. John selflessly threw his helmet over the grenade and then himself over the helmet, which exploded and caused quite a bit of damage to his stomach and abdomen area. And but John lived, and he lives on today. And I believe it would be fitting that we look into, I think the recommended action would be direct city manager and public works to provide and install approximately 30 to 45 foot flagpole for an American flag to be displayed at John Baca Park. Estimates for the flagpole and installation is about $18,000. The other half of that is because it is a flag, if John attends, there's very specific rules on flying the Medal of Honor flag. He has to be present. He can't just give the flag away and somebody fly it for him at their house. It can only be flown on his house. So there's some strict rules about that. So really, the only amendment I'd kind of make, if John can attend the ceremony, consider displaying the Medal of Honor flag in honor of John Baca on a separate mobile contemporary pole at a dedication ceremony for that American flag pole. So it'd be similar to the one behind us, but displaying the Medal of Honor flag. This action will require unanimous vote of the city council members per city charter section 806. And that's it.
Second that, Pat.
There's a first and a second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. I'll call the roll. Councilmember. Oh.
Your mic.
All right, thank you. I appreciate this item. Look, it's not lost on us that this is our 12th meeting talking about flags. We did it last week. We added a flag to Car Park. And as a fellow Vexiophile, apparently.
What?
Vexiophile.
I don't know what that is.
So, lover of flags.
Oh.
I have some questions, like just technical questions. So we own the land, which is good. Our GIS system is outdated and showed that somebody else owned the land, so that was a little bit of a thing. Do we know if we need HOA permission since it's...
Part of that park closer to Ellis is HOA.
Correct. Yeah.
But then the other part closer to Gothard is our city property.
I understand that it's city property. I just don't know if the CCNRs that were potentially recorded with the whole area also apply to the park. It's also a weird-shaped park, and so it makes me wonder, are we going to be able to dig footing for a 35 to 45-foot hole? I don't know if that's formerly contaminated land. It's a rather large park for that area. You'd think it would be maybe a little smaller, so I don't have the whole land history for that. I just worry that that there may be CCNRs and we got to dig. Are you allowed to dig there? The other part of this is, did the residents want a flag there? The folks that brought this forward don't live in that neighborhood. I don't know. But then, like, the ongoing cost, $18,000 is not free. We're gonna, I'm assuming, light it. I'm assuming there's electricity over there. We're gonna have to maintain it. I'm assuming we gotta buy a new flag every year or so. There's non-zero recurring costs associated with this. Where we have deficits next year. I mean, what are we gonna cut? I guess I support flying flags for folks and honoring folks, but I guess the larger question: did anybody call John Baca to see if he was interested in this or coming? Like, did anybody talk to him or the family before we did this? You talked to him?
Not Tony Roman did.
Okay.
Guy asked me for it.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, I was reading, because I didn't know a whole lot about him, that he was a big advocate for veterans and homeless veterans, that it just didn't occur that spending $18,000 to fly a flag could better be.
But the guy's genuinely a selfless guy. He even went back to Vietnam and helped build a hospital.
I read all about that. That was awesome, but I just didn't know if he would want us spending $18,000 to fly a flag instead of using it to help homeless veterans.
Well, I just think the payback, though, would be instrumental. Just showing our respect for
right,
that.
no, I don't disagree. Did we look at other potential funding mechanisms, talking to the American Legion or like an Eagle Scout project or something like that instead of coming out?
Yes.
Yeah.
I talked to Tee It Up, and there were other funding options possibly available, but I think we decided to go with this out of ease, I think. But I'm not opposed to looking for
Okay,
some.
that would be awesome. I mean, because having had my kids play in that park, the park itself is not in great shape. It's missing benches. The basketball hoops need a coat of paint. Like, the rubberized mat is pretty tore up. Like, it's not in good shape.
Maybe this would help bring some pride back into it.
I mean, I don't know, but like it's our park. We own the park, and it's on us to maintain it. I don't know if the residents are going to see us spend a bunch of money putting a flag in, and they're standing in a park that's broken. So I don't know. It's just I would like to have obviously it'd be a pretty amazing project for Eagle Scouts. What would be the rush to not, I mean, again, so I'd support waiving, because it's a over 15-foot flagpole, so we're gonna need a city permit, so I have no problem waiving fees if a third party wanted to come in and do that, but I don't know, just to kind of, again, I wanna honor our veterans as best we can, but it's a lot of money, and if there's no rush, I would obviously like to explore other funding mechanisms, right? Like, I mean...
Okay, a lot of money. I gotta argue back on that. Dan, remember, you are the one who asked for a 50% of an Orange County judge pay for us to get paid and a staffer assigned. That's up to like $1.5 million plus a year if we instituted a charter change as you request on that. So this is way, way less than that. And like I say, to show our military a Medal of Honor, the highest decoration you could possibly get. Shannon's gone. I did have a picture of the man and the medal, but it's
Mr.
not.
Burns, can I add to that?
Yeah,
if you
yes,
don't
you may.
mind.
No, please.
Yielding. I want to remind this council that we had a $500,000 art project that was authored by Lynn Sameta that was passed by almost everybody here. I think I was the only one to lay off on that went over 250,000 overrun at Central Park. Certainly an art project that's 500,000 is good on your side, but not an $18,000 flag to honor an American hero. I just don't get that argument. And by the way, if we do it privately, put me down. I'll help raise some money for it. But I think I'll put in my own 1,000. I'll go raise some money for it too. But when we talk about priorities of the city, when you're willing to do a $500,000 art project at Central Park that's $200,000 over budget, and we're asking for $18,000 to put a flag up for an American hero, your priorities are way off.
I'm not arguing against it. I'm just asking these questions to better understand how we move through the process here.
They're good questions, valid questions, but I wish those questions were asked of a project that went over $200,000 over budget.
Because it's not agendized, right? So that project actually came out of specific funds that have been allocated and collected through a fee. Okay. I mean, it'd be great if we'd create a flag fund to help fund flags throughout the city for this type of thing and have a funding mechanism for that. But that art project was funded through the Central Park Arts developer fee that was paid into that account. So to say that
I didn't see anybody make concerns about that.
It's not an apples to apples conversation.
It is an apples to apples.
This is general fund money, and that was specific funding that was earmarked to do just that project. So again, I agree with it. This is a worthy project. I just obviously wanted to make sure that we hit all four corners of the box before we move forward on something like this. That's all.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion, a second.
Okay.
We got to go A and B.
Oh.
Or both at the same.
Both.
Bifurcated.
So
probably should go A and B.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, because the B requires a unanimous
Got
vote.
it. Okay.
So we'll be bifurcating the vote?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so first we'll vote on recommended action A, direct the city manager and public works director to provide and install an approximate 35 to 45-foot flagpole for an American flag to be displayed at John Baca Park. So I'll call the roll for item A. Councilmember Mosier?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolton?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns?
Aye.
Mayor Vandermark?
Yes.
Councilmember Strickland?
Aye.
Councilmember McKeon?
Yes.
Councilmember Kalmick?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 7-0 for item A. And so now we'll vote on item B. Consider displaying the Medal of Honor flag for ceremonial purposes only for John Baca on a separate mobile or temporary pole at a dedication ceremony. Per city charter section 806, the city may display any other flag in addition to those already enumerated, but only if authorized by a unanimous vote of all members of the city council. Okay.
I did amend that during my reading to if John is present.
Okay.
Because I believe there is restrictions on flying that flag if he is not present.
Okay, so the recommended
If
motion
he
would
is
be
present.
To vote on it as amended if John Baca is present. Okay, Councilmember Mosier?
Aye.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Kalmick?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 7-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 22, Councilmember McCann, please introduce your report.
Thank you, Mayor. Recently, several residents have reached out to me expressing some concern over the proliferation and cluster of tobacco retailers, especially near youth-populated areas. A brand new smoke shop just opened at Brookhurst in Hamilton, which is essentially 90 feet away from an existing smoke shop located in the adjacent rear building. And tobacco use is the most preventable cause of disease, disability, and death in the United States. Nearly 1 in 5 deaths in the U.S. can be attributed to cigarette smoking. And statistics show that tobacco product is started and established primarily during adolescence. The stats are pretty clear. 10% of middle and high school students report current tobacco product use. E-cigarettes remain in the most used tobacco product amongst middle school and high school students who currently use e-cigarettes. 25% used e-cigarettes daily, and 89% use flavored e-cigarettes. And so the density of tobacco retailers, particularly in neighborhoods surrounding schools, has been associated with increased youth smoking rates. And studies further show that 41% of U.S. teens lived within a half mile of a tobacco retailer, and 44% attended schools within 1,000 feet of a tobacco retailer. And in order to reduce illegal sales of tobacco products to minors, California has recently passed policies to further regulate the sale of tobacco in the retail environment. Many cities and counties have passed additional policies to implement state laws and regulations. Some jurisdictions have placed restrictions on what retailers can and cannot sell, and where retailers can be located in order to counter efforts to attract new, younger customers. And so currently, the Huntington Beach zoning and subdivision ordinance does not explicitly identify tobacco retailers, including smoke and or tobacco shops, in the land use tables in the city's zoning districts. Therefore, these uses may be permitted as general retail uses, which are allowed by right. And so in light of the above statistics I just read, I believe the city should adopt an ordinance to regulate these uses by defining the uses to be regulated, such as define tobacco retailers, so as not to affect other businesses like grocery and liquor stores that have ancillary tobacco sales. Define tobacco product or paraphernalia. Define, most importantly, youth-populated areas. And then establish minimum zoning standards for the land uses, such as prohibiting new tobacco retailers at any location exclusively zoned for residential use. Prohibit new tobacco retailers within a certain distance of youth-populated areas, including schools. And then establishing minimum distance requirements between tobacco retailers. And important note, this won't apply to existing locations, obviously to new locations going forward. So with that action, I'd like to direct the city manager to work with the city attorney to prepare an ordinance for introduction at a future city council meeting to amend the HBZSO to establish regulations for tobacco retailers citywide. And a slight amendment, in talking with City Manager Parra, I'd also like the ABC to conduct their operations process for the existing tobacco retail shops.
Second.
Does anyone have anything to say?
Yeah, I have a couple of
Councilmember
questions.
Bolton.
Thank you. So there's certainly no argument about the hazards of tobacco use. My questions just have to do with the process of implementation, because if we're going to do this, we want to make sure we do it in the most well-informed way possible. So questions like how many stores potentially would this impact? So is it only 2?
No, I mean, so basically I think so staff will come back with this, talking with Jennifer, but you can do it, based on, like I said, like a radius, so distance between other existing locations, like within 1,000 feet of property to property. That's probably more I think the direction we'll go, but they're going to look out to other cities, right, Jennifer, that have done this already, that have had success. And so they're going to come back with these definitions, and then kind of the minimums, like I said, distance to youth-populated areas, minimum distance requirements between tobacco retailers to make sure there's just not this cluster of too many tobacco retailers in one area.
Yeah, okay, that's the buffer question.
Right.
But
Yeah.
my question was about the existing circumstances. So are there 2 existing stores that you're talking about that are clustered together, or are
Yeah,
there
so I
more?
mean, should this go forward, those will be legal non-conforming, right? So they can obviously exist, and then should those businesses, either vacate or go away, then the ordinance would apply. So a new one cannot come in to, that would violate this distance requirement.
So do we know how that would impact the business owners' the resale value?
Resale value.
Yeah,
So if they're gonna
so,
like resell
yeah.
their business, I mean,
They decided to sell their business and.
Sure. I mean, they'd have a lease, right? So I mean, they could sell their business until their lease is up, and then if their lease isn't renewed by the landlord and that suite becomes vacant, then a new tobacco retailer cannot come in.
What did you say?
The use would expire, like,
After
there's
6
6 months.
Yeah, yeah. But again, these I'll look to Jennifer to come back with like details on that. But it's kind of like zoning, right? So it's like legal non-conforming. So they're allowed as long as they currently exist. But should they go dark or vacant or their lease expire and not be renewed, then yeah, you can do like a 6-month expiration. Then another tobacco shop, retail shop cannot come in.
So did we engage anybody in this business, any of the small business owners or whoever they are? Because I don't know who they are and I don't know where they are. So, yeah.
Yeah, again, this is a council member item. It's an idea. So they're going to come back with definitions, options, et cetera. And yeah, if you'd like to go out and do outreach to existing tobacco retailers, sure, I'm happy to do that myself. I do think it's abnormal that the one I just mentioned at Brookers and Hamilton, there's two literally 70 feet away from each other. And residents are calling me going, why do we have two smoke shops right next to each other, right next to Edison High School? You're coming down the hill in Hamilton, and the one is as bright as it can be. You drive right around the corner, and there's another one. So I've had several people reach out to me with concern. Of course, I'm sensitive to business owners that have tobacco shops. I think that's abnormal, the example I brought up, but it exists. So I'd like to put in guardrails and mechanisms so it doesn't happen again. And I'm sure if you asked a tobacco retailer, he would probably like this because that's less competition for him within a certain area. I'm sure the gentleman or the business owner that's behind the one that just opened on Brookers and Hamilton is probably not too excited because he's just been outpositioned by a better smoke shop that's more well lit at the intersection when he's buried behind him. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I'm happy to do some business outreach to make sure this is as tight as possible.
And then what about the schools and school systems? Has there been any outreach to them?
Again, this is the first step in the process.
Yeah, okay, well, because there are a lot of unanswered questions, my suggestion is we do this as a study session, as opposed to, because what we're telling the staff to do right now is to come back with an ordinance. And I'm concerned that they are being directed to do that when what we need to be doing is research and data gathering. So I'd make a substitute motion to direct the staff to come back with a study session to study the issue. And again, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right because the law of unintended consequences, I mean, we've just had an example of that this evening. So I want to make sure that we don't have to keep coming back to it, because there are things that weren't done correctly or whatever because the staff was having to rush.
Sure.
So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I'm happy to do a study session. I don't think it's necessary because in talking with Jennifer, her team, there's several cities that have already implemented this and they've found success, but maybe with your motion, just have them come back with a report when the ordinance comes back, or we can do one meeting before, but I mean, it's not urgent, but I think we should definitely move this forward. What do you guys?
Can I ask, what kind of data you're looking for? Because it's really just outlining keeping them separate, a certain distance apart and a certain distance away from school, and there it is. But the ones that are there get grandfathered in.
Well, it's easier said than done, though. So if you're talking about buffers, for example, where are you going to measure from? Are you measuring from the front door of one store to the front door of another store? Are you measuring from the property line of the shopping center to, it's easier said than done.
Okay,
and
I thought he said property line.
Oh, well, I don't know. I didn't hear him say anything about buffers, but this is a regulatory scheme that we're setting up essentially, and the staff has done this before because they've had to do this type of research when we were looking at cannabis retailing. So it's not like it's something that's novel, but at the same time, it's a lot easier said than done to set this up. And so that's why I'm asking for data like where these things are, talk to the schools and make sure we understand what would be best from their perspective.
Right.
Go ahead.
Can I ask staff, Councilman McKeon mentioned other localities. What other localities have this ordinance already in place?
There's a bunch of ordinances throughout.
So we're not reinventing the wheel. It's a whole bunch of different cities that already have this.
Yeah, and most recently, San Clemente and Westminster.
Okay. And then my understanding from when I was in the legislature, the schools already have, I believe it passed when I was there, a certain distance, so you can't have any of these smoke shops near schools anyway because of state law. Is that correct?
There are a number of state laws that address tobacco retailers. There's cities and counties basically add to those policies
Right.
and create their own.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Councilmember Kalmick or
right.
Moser. Go ahead, Moser.
Thanks. If we're going to have a study session, which it sounds like we might, I would like to maybe broaden it a little bit. I appreciate that some people reached out with regards to those concerns. I too have concerns about tobacco use among our youth. I also want to make sure that the zoning changes we make, we're all different cities, don't have any unintended consequences or we understand what they are. Separately, if our objective is to deter youth from using tobacco and e-cigarettes, perhaps we also can look at some other things where we can make sure we have the most impact as a municipality. I did a little bit of research and it indicates that the complexities of youth access to vaping products in a published preventative medicines reports found that while 20% of current users of adolescents of those products purchase the products themselves, nearly 80% of them purchased them from social or got them from social sources such as friends or someone who bought them on their behalf, which suggests that simply restricting retail sales may not address the primary source of youth access. Instead, the study recommends a greater focus on deterring or penalizing legal age purchasers who provide these products to minors. So I don't know if within a study session we could talk about the zoning, any potential, what the impact would be, both the intended and maybe unintended consequences, and also maybe the broader context of youth behavior. Because if we really want to make sure we're impacting youth with this, I want to make sure that there is some data to be able to support that as well. So I have some questions, and maybe we can talk about these more so we don't have to have answers right now, but maybe in a study session. How does the police department currently enforce laws related to the sale of tobacco and vaping products to minors? And this is probably for later. And are there specific challenges that your officers face in enforcing these laws? Also, does the department address the issue of legal age individuals purchasing tobacco products for minors? Are there existing strategies or penalties in place? The other thing when I was reading about that is it talked about the 20% that purchase them themselves, purchase them not at tobacco retailers, which this is specifically focusing on, but actually at convenience stores and gas stations. I'm not saying that we should necessarily change zoning or do anything with regards to that, but if our objective is to deter youth from using these products, I want to make sure what we're doing is actually achieving that goal. And if most kids are purchasing it from another location, maybe we're not doing that. So I want to make sure that we're able to kind of find some way to measure the overall effectiveness of anything that we are able to do, whether that be regulation, zoning changes to reduce youth access to these products. I'll have other questions for later, assuming we have a study session. I don't want to bring everything forward right now. But I do think it's important that we do have data also to be able to support that. Anything that we do, and I don't know what data we have currently, and it might be with the schools and also with the police department as well, we should be able to see if there's actually an impact from the changes that we make. And we can see if there are unintended consequences, if that zoning is put in place, what they are, maybe over a period of time. Also see if it actually has the impact that we intended with the youth accessing the products, and then we can hopefully make additional changes after that. So again, I would like it to come back with metrics for measuring the impact as well, maybe youth smoking and vaping rates. I don't know what our retailer compliance is. I do think the retailer density is value, which is what we're talking specifically about here, and also gathering additional community feedback. I know we're already working with the schools, but maybe finding out a little bit more about what we're doing there and maybe the challenges that they're specifically having, and also if there are hot spots within certain schools. I know that my kids had talked about seeing kids, with, I don't even know what they look like, the little drives that you put into a computer and or a highlighter, and they're actually vaping, in the classroom in the past. So, we definitely have challenges with that, but I want to make sure that if we do something, that we're able to make sure we can actually track the change of what we're trying to do. So hopefully we can talk about that in the study session.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I mean, Jennifer, I just want to clarify. I mean, I don't believe a study session is necessary because this would have to go through Planning Commission anyway, correct?
Yeah, so it would go to the Planning Commission for a public hearing. They would make
Right.
a recommendation to the City Council, which would have a public hearing.
Right, which would have all the studies and facts and all those issues that could be brought up. So I think that a study session is just not efficient at this moment. It's going to go through the proper channels, go through Planning Commission, come back to us, and then we can ask the questions then. And if we need more information at that time, come back. So I mean,
I don't think they're going to bring up any of the things I just talked about, though. I know you're talking specifically about zoning. I'm thinking if we really want to make an impact
I will
deterring
ensure
youth.
my planning commissioner does that.
Well, let me jump in real quick. Having served there for quite some time, the Planning Commission is to implement and validate the policies of the City Council, not make policy. I think what I would find beneficial about the study session is we're defining some terms, we're defining some buffers. We get some public input from some folks because you're bringing forward an ordinance from like 6 bullet points. I don't think lets us kind of talk about what staff does the research, comes back and says, here's what we think should be in the ordinance. A study session would be the appropriate place for us to then say, yeah, here are the things we think are good, here's some of the things we should change. I'd like to see at least a map of all of the current smoke shops in the city, to see where they all currently are, to see how many we have, to see like how much of we need to spend a lot of time on this if there's 40, or there's 700, or there's 7,000. I don't know. I don't have a visibility. I know there's a lot, and I now have a hypersensitivity for where they are, and adjacent to other businesses. But studies normally, in past times, as an idea like this came forward, it would come back as a study session with staff after they did all the research. We would say we like all this, and then it would go to Planning Commission, and then Planning Commission would do the deep dive, and then come to us for the actual zoning text amendment piece. But if there's a municipal code change, that wouldn't go to Planning Commission. So if there's a discussion on sales and use of different products, or penalties, for instance, for violation of a minor in possession of tobacco products, or shoulder tap sales, we want to increase those penalties to make it less attractive for someone to do that. That would be an us thing. And so I think that there's great value in at least engaging the community in this as a whole, because I think this is deep on the agenda as an item before people see the actual ordinance. I think that would be great for staff to come back and kind of with some details on what the framework of an ordinance would look like, and then we pass it off to Planning Commission to come back for the ZTA. Because if we send a policy to the Planning Commission, it's really outside their purview.
Councilmember Strickland.
If you don't mind, I will just say publicly, I don't mind if it's a study session or an ordinance, but from what I'm hearing, I think the author is the one that brought this forward. He's looking at some other cities that have done this, and I think he wants to move forward with going through the Planning Commission in that process. And if it comes back and doesn't go far enough, maybe the author's objectives are different than some other members here, and maybe the other members, if it doesn't go where you like to see it, then we do another ordinance coming from another member of this council. I don't care if it's a study session or an ordinance, because I think it's going to get plenty of public hearings. But I do think it should be the author that makes that decision. I will back whatever the author decides on this, because I think you can go either track. But clearly, maybe the author doesn't want to expand this idea to where some of the other council members want to. Maybe he wants to keep it tight based on what's going on in, I guess, Westminster and San Clemente. And not bad ideas from other members of the council. If it doesn't go where they want it to go, they'll bring forward their proposal as their author for it. I mean, that's kind of where I am. So I'm going to back whatever, whatever the author wants to do.
Thank you. I was just basically going to say that. I understand. I hear what you guys are saying, but in my opinion, you're overcomplicating it. I really want to keep it the way it is. Based on precedent from nearby cities that have done it, it's actually abnormal that we don't have a defined, smoke shop use in our zoning. So I personally want to leave it the way it is, and that's why I wrote it this way. I appreciate your guys' input, but I would personally like to leave it the way it is.
If we really want to make sure that we do what we can to reduce teen smoking, I don't see what difference it makes who the author is. If the point is that we're trying to do something to reduce kids from smoking, make it less accessible or what have you, why wouldn't we make our best effort at the outset? Why would we go through successive rounds of policy making? That's not efficient. And we already have a staff that's reduced to hardly. We've got a skeleton crew, and you're going to ask them to go through successive rounds.
No, I'm
that's
not
just
actually.
not efficient.
I'm not actually that's what you're asking. What I'm asking is to keep it simple. My agenda item was that there's residents that are concerned about the proliferation and cluster of tobacco retail shops. So all I'm asking is to create a new zoning ordinance to separate that cluster like other cities have done. It's actually really not that complicated. We don't need studies. We don't need to talk to schools about it because they agree as well. Business owners for sure don't want competitors being 70 feet away. So you're actually overcomplicating it. The precedent's been set by other cities. It's been successful. That's all I'm asking for.
I really feel that those are good ideas, but they're two separate issues. We create the zoning, we create that, and then the programs. Yeah, I think it's smoking amongst teens has been an issue way before I was a kid. And I remember in junior high, the kids smoking on the corner right across the street from school. And I always thought it was stupid as all hell, but they did it. But I like what you're saying, but I think it's totally two separate issues. And I think the ordinance, and then we can plan on getting specific with some programs.
Right.
I wasn't even actually referring to the additional municipal code pieces in the study session. I think the study session, again, because there's still policy that needs to be fleshed out, I don't know what the buffers are. I don't know if these two down in Southeast are the only two that are clustered. I just don't have that data. And so that would, again, the normal policy is that the wheels of government do not move as quickly as I think anyone would like, because we have to involve the public, we have to be deliberate in our decision-making, especially since this doesn't actually affect the current issue that we're trying to solve in Southeast Huntington. So I think that and it does create non-conforming use, which is something that planning loathes to do. We do not like to create non-conforming uses, and it's not good planning to create that. But in this case, I believe it is a valid discussion. But again, going to study session when staff comes back, I would have liked to have seen the ordinances for the other cities included in this item. That would have been helpful to be able to say, yeah, let's just copy that one. It looks good, but I don't know what this looks like. I have a vague idea of what it looks like. I understand what I would design myself, but I think the public deserves to see that before they see an ordinance. I think they deserve to see data from other cities, a menu of choices that best fit us, understanding what the buffers do, and then how many non-conforming businesses we're going to create with this. Because I think that's the key piece, is the value, forgetting what the use is, that it's tobacco, that you are affecting someone's livelihood and their ability to value their property. And I want to know how many people that's going to affect.
Well, and by the way, that data is going to come forward as we move forward with Councilman McKeon's item. It will go for public hearing at the public.
But that'll be an ordinance, though.
And it will have to come to us after the Planning Commission. So you're going to have the public hearing. You're going to have that data as it comes forward. It's not like you won't have that data, and you will have the information as it goes forward based on the other cities that have done it, from Westminster to San Clemente, and by that point, because it is public, you're going to have public input from those who might affect. That's what the government process is. As it comes forward, people will come forward with their concerns, and then we take those concerns. And if we don't like what's being pushed back from the community, then we have an ultimate ability to vote no and not move forward.
Yeah, that will all be in the staff report. So yeah. Anyway.
So in the past, when we would proceed with this governing process of having a study session. Really, a big part of our having study sessions is about talking things through, seeing the things that you're talking about, the data, the ordinances from other areas, and then talking those things out with staff here so we can ask questions of them before the ordinance is written. That way, there isn't a bunch of work done on something that maybe we do want changed. Maybe when you're talking about, we'll kind of do it backwards. We'll do it, throw it out to us, and then we'll change everything. When really what we can do is do the study session. It'll just take one more meeting. Talk about those things, be presented with a little bit more information, ask those questions, and maybe even forget the things that I talked about. However, I would say that the folks that came to you with concerns about clusters of smoke shops, I'm going to bet that it wasn't so much the clusters of smoke shops they were concerned with. I bet it's the fact that the kids are using tobacco products. So that's where I do think there's some value in having that conversation and dialogue too. But even if we don't go there right now, I do think there's value in just taking a breath, having that discussion with staff, bringing those ordinances back. And then it might just be, great, you know what? Councilmember McKeon had the right idea. We don't need to change anything. Let's move forward on the ordinance. But I'd rather not have staff go through and work on an ordinance first, then bring it back, and then us want to change things. I think it'd make more sense just to be able to, since those ordinances already exist.
So I guess I'll just.
I would like to call the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd like to make a second for the substitute motion that was put on the table as well, to have a study session.
So we're voting on the substitute
motion
motion, which is to bring back the item as a study session?
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Mosier?
Aye.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
No.
Vandermark?
No.
Strickland?
Pass. I want to see
Pass,
what Casey does.
McKeon?
No.
Kalmick?
Aye.
Strickland?
Strickland, no.
Strickland, okay.
Okay, I will vote on the motion, original motion.
Second.
Okay, and the original motion is the recommended action. And Councilmember McKeon, can you provide some clarification? You mentioned something about ABC, the alcohol.
To institute an ABC operations. Chief, you wanted to.
So I think what we can do is we can work with ABC to schedule some operations. We don't have operational control over them, but we can certainly work with them for future opportunities.
Okay.
Wait, do you want to tell people what ABC is? Again, this would be something to be helpful in a study session.
It's Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control, and they regulate tobacco sales.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, a first and a second, as amended to include ABC operations.
Yes.
Okay, I'll call the vote on that, the roll, I'm sorry. Councilmember Mosier?
Aye.
Bolton?
Aye.
Burns?
Aye.
Vandermark?
Yes.
Strickland?
Aye.
McKeon?
Yes.
Kalmick?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, submitted by council members Bolton, Kalmick, Moser. So whichever one of you guys would like to introduce it. Go
Sure,
ahead.
I'll start. So it's a sad day when we have to call for the resignation of someone who was put into office to be a public servant. But the residents of Board of Supervisors District 1 have effectively been unrepresented for some time now. And, you know, the unaccounted money, unaccounted for money that is the subject of these investigations of Supervisor Doe and his family, that money was to go toward feeding needy seniors, some of whom are in our city. And I just think the fact that political candidates who had Supervisor Doe's endorsement are removing those endorsements from their websites says a lot. And also, his own colleagues are calling for his resignation. It's time for our residents in District 1 to have some representation. We have gone without for way too long. So for that reason, we drafted this resolution suggesting that we call for the resignation of District 1 Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Andrew Doe.
Councilmember Moser.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, by taking a public stand against corruption, we send a clear message that Huntington Beach will not tolerate breaches of public trust. Our community deserves better, and it's our duty to fight for that standard. I think as elected officials, we set the tone for what is acceptable in public service, and if we remain silent in the face of such serious allegations, we send the message that accountability is optional. By taking a stand, we reinforce the principle that no one is above the law and that public officials must be held to the highest standards of integrity. And so tonight I urge my fellow council members to join me in voting to demand the immediate resignation of Supervisor Andrew Doe. This is not a partisan issue. Let's restore the trust that has been broken and ensure that our government serves the people with integrity that they deserve.
Councilmember Kalmick.
I believe my colleagues said all there is to say.
Councilmember Strickland.
I don't know who wants to answer the questions, but did any of those funds go to feed the public?
We don't know the answer to that question.
No, I'm
because
just asking legitimately, did any of those funds go?
They're unaccounted for.
So we don't know if any of those funds went to feed.
They are unaccounted for.
Okay. I'm just asking the question. And then Councilman Mosier said serious allegations. I circle the word allegations because based on what I've read, and I only know what I've read, I agree with you. I think he should resign based on the allegations. But one thing I have just a concern is I haven't heard, I don't know all the information. Like, I don't know if people have been fed. It certainly looks like he took the money and bought homes for, I guess, him and or the child or other people. And it looks like, he should resign. And I don't think we should ever tolerate something like that. And he should resign. But when we say allegations, I just don't know all the information. I just, based on what I know today, absolutely, he should resign. But I don't know enough. I don't know enough of the information, and I don't think the public knows enough of the information. They know what they read in the newspaper, and that's it. And as much as I do believe he should resign, and another question I have, someone said we're unrepresented for some time now. Is he not showing up to meetings? Is he not going to any of the meetings?
He has not been.
Has he been removed by his colleagues?
He's not been, well, I take that back. My understanding is that they are going to consider taking him off of committees.
Okay.
But when I say, he wasn't at the last meeting. And
Have the Board of Supervisors voted to remove him?
No, they haven't.
And why would we go ahead of the Board of Supervisors?
Because our ethical guidelines require us to avoid the very appearance of impropriety. And so when there is a situation that is as, odd, there's also a question of whether he lives in a district, whether he even lives in District 1. And I think that's another issue that was raised before the Board of Supervisors at the meeting that he was not at. I think that, again, we are leaders in the community. We set the tone, and we should make a statement that corruption
So say
is
we pass
not
this.
acceptable.
So say we pass this tonight. I'm just asking if we pass this tonight. If something comes up where we go, we didn't know that information, and how do we take that toothpaste out of the tube? Because again, I think every person deserves a kind of fair pushback, and here in America, we're innocent until proven guilty. I mean, and I think I end up in that position. I think, based on what I read, he should resign. But at the same time, I haven't heard any of the major information. I would think that the Board of Supervisors have more information than we do, and they haven't moved forward on this.
Well, 2 of his colleagues are calling for his resignation
Okay.
as well. So, and
All right.
again, we're talking about the appearance. I'm talking about the expectation that we avoid, public servants avoid the appearance of impropriety, and that line has already been
So let me
crossed.
ask you a question then. So if anybody has an appearance of misconduct, You're going to call for their resignation?
I'm just saying.
No,
that
I'm
he
asking
has
that question.
crossed
It's a fair
line.
question, right?
I
If
am
anybody,
saying
you
that
said
he
if
has
anybody
crossed
has an
that line.
appearance of this, we should call for the resignation. Is that what you're saying?
That is not what I'm saying.
I'm asking.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, what are you saying?
I am saying that in this situation, the appearance of impropriety has already been breached.
And I'm asking.
Furthermore,
I'm
he has
asking is at any time that there's an appearance,
Okay,
should
would
we
you
call for
let me-
resignation?
You asked me a question. You gonna let
Okay,
me finish
thank you.
the answer?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
His house has been raided by the FBI.
Mhm.
2 of his colleagues are calling for his resignation. The funds which were to go to take care of people in this city, in this district, are unaccounted for.
Mhm.
Those are things that we know. In this situation, I think it's appropriate for us to make a statement about that and to call on him to resign. Everybody gets one vote. Everybody gets
I
one
get
vote.
it. I get it. There
And
are
so
people.
that's
You
our-
know there are
that's
people
our
that
proposal.
you know there are people where the feds have raided and they've found to be innocent. You know that, right?
Taking
No,
all-
I'm just asking a question.
Sure,
Do you know that
taking
there
all
are
of these facts together,
Yeah.
taking all of the facts and circumstances together, we are calling on him to resign.
Okay.
And 2 of his colleagues are calling on him to resign. And his colleagues are considering stripping him of all of his committee memberships.
And I'm just saying from me, the word allegations, the word appearance, it has me wearing a caution. But I will say, based on what I hear, I think he should resign.
Can I jump in? I like you guys' first opening lines. The erosion of public trust cannot be tolerated. Our democracy is founded on transparency and accountability. And when these principles are compromised, the integrity of the office is lost. The misappropriation of funds without any accountability is a grave breach of the public trust. These funds have vanished without any receipts or transparency on how millions of dollars were spent. It's inexcusable, and I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. But right now, are we going to demand Newsom's resignation? And it says demand the resignation, and because there's like what, 32 billion with a B dollars unaccounted for towards the homeless programs, and that just kills me because really spending all that money of taxpayer dollars that really could have helped us out a lot at every level of government, whether it be infrastructure or homeless or really, and they can't account for it. There is numerous, OCPA wouldn't give their minutes or their contract information for, I don't know if they ever have. There is so many examples of appearances of misappropriation in law enforcement, of which I was for 30 years. Evidence is very crucial. Right now, I don't have and I hang him high. I say hang him high if he's found guilty. But I'll tell you, I was very sensitive as a policeman. I'd rather let 100 guilty people go than put one innocent person in jail. It's worth the caution and slow moving of a proper investigation. If he was guilty and if there was the proper evidence against him right now, Chief, you could back me up on this, he would be arrested. And they have not made an arrest. And that is a telltale sign. And even then, out of respect for our Constitution, that you are innocent before proven guilty, we are nothing but acting as a mob, trying to hang somebody high and tight before the evidence is even presented. And I think this is and I am full on for this if the evidence is presented correctly and he is found to have done even half the things. I don't even know all the things, to be honest with you. I don't have the evidence. I don't know the information. But from what I have heard, yeah, he deserves to be investigated. And I think we ought to let the investigation carry through. You've gone to law school. You know the importance of evidence. And we need to see that before we just knee-jerk or politically hang this guy without a proper hearing. And that's, I mean,
So
for
how-
me, it's very important that the evidence, and it carries a lot of weight.
So how many meetings does he have to miss? How many more weeks do we have to go without a representative?
Well, if he abandons his post, then that's up to, I don't know their policies on, that's a whole different subject. Then that's abandonment of his post. Just like if we missed, what is it, 3 meetings, then it's up to the rest of the members on the council to decide whether to get rid of the person. And that's I don't know their policy or their protocol in something like that. But I don't know if he has abandoned it. I don't know, like I say, I don't have that information. But as far as the demanding his resignation for the erosion of public trust at this point, the evidence isn't there. And I just say that when and if it presents itself, yeah, hey, hang him high. Let justice prevail and do whatever it takes to right this. Let justice prevail. That's all. And without that evidence, which I'm not aware of exists, and there's none been mentioned here except for suspicions or allegations, and it's a very dangerous road that we would be. And bring it back. I'll bring it back with you if that evidence comes to light. But until then, I think we ought to just table it or indefinitely until that evidence and just proceed with caution and watch from afar. And if he abandons his position, we don't have to worry about demanding his resignation because then the supervisors can oust him properly through their protocol. As far as the criminal aspects of it, well, the FBI hopefully will do what's right and present as it comes forward. So, like I say, no arrest has been made, so we don't have that evidence. I think I've said enough. Thank you.
So I too believe you're innocent until proven guilty. I also believe, though, that the residents in this district should have representation. I do believe that this has caused significant, this has affected his ability to do his job significantly. It's not a little issue. So I do believe that at this point he should probably focus more on this, and we'll find someone that can get the job done. I'm not saying he's guilty. We don't know that, but I do think his residents do deserve representation. Councilmember Kalmick.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that this is obviously a very good debate. Well, I think there's 2 separate issues, though. There's crimes and then there's representation and the appearance of impropriety. You brought up Orange County Power Authority. I appreciate that. I called for the resignation of Brian Popolsky from this dais because we didn't have evidence of crimes, but the public had lost confidence in his ability to perform. And so if it was true or not, he could have been performing great, poorly, didn't matter. The public perception within the organization was that it was unsalvageable with him as the lead, and so I called on his, probably I think the first of the electeds to call on his resignation, call for his resignation. That's what the ask is tonight, is that his ability to lead our district is now eroded to the point where, and there's only 4 months left, right? Like there's that. That we're going to run the clock out. If he gets arrested, it's a little bit easier to call for resignation. At this point, we are saying that we are without representation at the county board and they oversee $9 billion. Who do we call? Like if we need the flood control district handled, like do we call Supervisor Doe and ask him to, at the next meeting, to introduce an item if he's not there? That's why we're calling on him to resign. And it appears also that Don Wagner has agendized a censure for the 9/10 meeting, in addition, I'm guessing, to stripping him of his board pieces. So it's a political decision, not a criminal decision. There's no barrier of proof here. This is this political body speaking with a voice saying that we demand your resignation because
I'm not even talking the criminal aspect of it. There's just not enough. I haven't heard really any evidence of what the guy has actually factually done. I mean, I heard rumors, I've heard little bits, but the evidence to even hold him accountable to take his job, to me, right now, is early for this body to do, but let the rest of the county supervisors take their course as their protocol dictates.
I don't think
That's
they can.
all I'm
I don't
saying.
think they can remove a person from office. I don't think elected boards can generally remove that. A board that small could remove anybody from office. I think you get 3 people on there. I don't. We don't have one here. Like
You missed 3 meetings.
you missed 2, but either way, he'd show up, check in, and leave. Right? Like he attended the meeting. I don't think. Again, this is a political discussion about whether or not we have a viable leader at the county level for us. And because I don't believe we do, and I believe that the public has lost trust in this, we are demanding for his resignation as a body. We're asking this body to speak as one voice and as one of the largest cities in the district to say demand. And it should be noted, obviously, that State Senator Janet Wen called for his resignation on the 22nd of August. Like the person looking to take his seat, and I believe we had another representative looking to take his seat in November here demanding his resignation. So, I mean, I think that isn't necessarily a pile-on or getting there too early to the game. I think it's we need representatives who we can trust, and I think asking for his resignation to vacate that seat, I think is what the city council should be doing tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion to move the item.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and second. I'll call the roll. Councilmember Moser,
Aye.
Bolton, Burns,
No.
Vandermark,
Yes.
Strickland, McKeon,
Yes.
Kalmick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn in a second? Motion. Second. Meeting adjourned.